Folks, you've been with us for the entire offseason. Why not join us after the game? Welcome to the Voice of College Football on a Friday night. Getting started a bit early, and invite all of you to leave those comments and questions there in the chat. What we are highlighting tonight is post-game. Yes, there will be games here in college football. It's the longest offseason, so sometimes we forget actually through the realignment and through all the speculation, through all the polls and the ratings and the rankings, we will finally have football on the field to determine winners and losers. And that will start on August 26th. So 8 days from right now, we will certainly highlight Notre Dame and USC because we've got post-game shows following the USC San Jose State game and also Notre Dame and Navy right here at the Voice of College Football. And tonight is a celebration of our post-game menu here at the Voice of College Football. So we appreciate everybody stopping by. And over the next couple hours, we will introduce you and get you reacquainted in a number of cases to the folks that make it all possible here at the Voice of College Football each and every Saturday. I'm only a small element in all of this, just a small part of what we provide each and every Saturday. It's the gentleman we will be speaking with over the next couple hours and talking some college football and talking about what they have planned for post-game here at the Voice of College Football. Last count, 18 post-game shows lined up for you here at the Voice of College Football. Leave those comments and questions. Again, we will ultimately talk some college football tonight, but want to let you know what we have on tap for all of you. And let's get to it. And I believe first up, we will bring in a familiar pair here. We've got Tony and we've got Rick and we've got USC post-game. And we've got these two guys that certainly have already contributed so much here at the Voice of College Football. Tony, Rick, how we doing tonight?
Fight on, Mark. We're doing great. We're a week away.
Thanks for having us. How are you doing?
Welcome. Yes, I'm doing great. Tony, Tim, and Rick, of course, provided USC post-game, and they get together for Trojan Live Conquest. Trojan Conquest Live. Sometimes I mix up those titles, but Trojan Conquest Live every Sunday night over on the USC channel. We got the Pac-12 chat show. What do you guys not do for us here at the Voice of College Football? It's pretty amazing. Good to see you, though.
We've got another breakthrough that Rick has set up that's going to be really fun. So we're going to have our USC post-game live, and we'd love to have all you guys come join us. We love the chat. We love the interaction. But Rick has set up something that is going to be just an absolute game changer for us. Rick, tell them the cool news.
Well, first off, Mark, thank you very much for letting this motley crew, host the USC post-game live show for a second consecutive year. Had a great time with Tim and Tony. We have some great chemistry out there. And one of the things we noticed, I don't know if anybody saw it, but you can go check the videos out, but we did it. The post-game show for Notre Dame was on fire. That was heavily viewed. I think we had over 6,000 views. And I'm leaving the stadium, and the security was threatening to kick me out. I had my camera on the stick, interacting with Tony and the fans, and security's like, "You're gonna go." And I said, "Hey, man, we haven't had this much fun in 20 years. You're gonna have to take me out in handcuffs." But and then
they were like, "That's a possibility."
Yeah, and when USC lost to Utah in the Pac-12 championship game, I walked back to the hotel. Through the hotel, I found a couple of Utah fans. I got them on camera. I thanked them. Congratulations. But the chemistry that Tony and I had that night, it dawned on me. And there was a suggestion by a USC football player that I'm trying to get on the show, and we're working on getting him on the show. And he said, "You know what you got to do this year? You got to do the away games live at Tustin Brewing." Because this player was a former player at USC and at Tustin High School here in Southern California. I said, "You know what? That's a great idea, but it'd be even better if you commit to doing a show." He said, "Done." I said, "Oh, okay, great." So I went to Tustin Brewing. I've had a few pints there since I've been living in Tustin for the last decade. From the LBC, moved to Tustin. And they said, yeah, we'd love to do it. So we are going to be doing 5 away games, the 5 away games that USC is playing live from Tustin Brewing. So Tony's going to be at his palatial estate in Florida. Tim may be joining me. If not, it'll be just me. But Tim might be there for if his schedule permits. But we are going to be able to attract more local Southern California Trojans to the Voice of College Football USC channel. That's what we are looking to do. We are going to have a player there for every game. The 5 away games, the first one starts September 23rd against ASU. We are playing the next week, September 30th, at Colorado with Neon Dion and his bag of at social media handles on the back of their jerseys because nobody knows who they are. October 14th, 4:30 p.m.
Very, very Big 12 behavior. Very Big 12 behavior.
7:30 Eastern on NBC against Notre Dame. That is going to be off the chain. October 28th, perhaps the last time USC goes up to Strawberry Canyon to play the Cal Bears. And then on November 11th, the epic conclusion to the 2023 USC championship, last championship of the Pac-12 road tour. Is going to go up to that truck stop in Eugene, Oregon to play the Ducks. So join us. It's going to be epic.
That is really cool. You guys have taken this whole outfit at the USC channel to another level between what you two have contributed through just the guests you've brought in, the graphics displays, the ideas, the ingenuity. The USC channel is just first rate, folks. It's a good time. It's first rate in every way. And again, we've got multiple shows for you. Rick is starting to deliver his weekly take on USC football. Tell him a little bit about what you've started to deliver there, Rick.
Well, Mark, again, thank you for giving us our voice, allowing us to have our voice, as well as all the other teams that you have representing all your different channels. It's remarkable what you've done, what you've built, and it's an honor to represent your channel and USC in this medium. And I'm blessed because who would have ever thunk that USC and Stone Brewing, the preeminent West Coast craft beer brewer, would come up with announcing a beer last week. I mean, it's crazy. Perfect. And Greg Cook, a USC alum from 1987 and the founder of Stone Brewing, and they brewed what's called Stone IPA, which is the #1 West Coast IPA. It's the pioneer. For them to come out with a beer, and that's my background working for Sam Adams and New Belgium Fat Tire, it was an honor because I was alongside Greg Cook fighting the craft beer fight years ago against, and they wanted to kill craft brewing. And to see where it's come, and now they're in partnership with USC, it's a crazy moment. But what I'm doing is I'm doing a weekly video called Trojans Talk on Tap. The first episode dropped last week, about a week and a half ago, and it happened to be the Black Friday. My opinion of the 4 culpable parties that were responsible for the Pac-12's demise. This one dropped today, and it was a beer review. I had a comment. J-Rod 1980 in the comment section said, "Hey, from the first video, can you do a review of the new Fight on Pale Ale?" So that's what I did today. And I've got a video that's going to be dropping in the next couple of days, a bonus video, and it's going to compare the similarities between Pete Carroll's second year to Lincoln Riley's second year. Even though the coaches are completely different, obviously Pete Carroll is defensive-minded. He was not wanted at USC. He was failed in the NFL, the 4th choice, what have you. And then Lincoln Riley was like a godsend. Nobody thought he would come to USC. Offensive-minded coach, But let's see. Even though they're completely different, Pete Carroll had the media involved. He's an extrovert. Lincoln Riley's an introvert, doesn't really want the media there. Even though they're completely different, the second year is very similar. And we have a couple Trojans that are going to be coming on, former Trojans are going to be coming on the show. I'm not going to announce their names, but we're working on it right now. It's either going to be live or it'll be recorded content, but we're excited to be sharing that as well.
So again, everyone, it starts out every week on Sunday night with Trojan Conquest Live, and then Matt Zemek and I get together for USC Trojans Live on Monday night. You've got Rick's Trojan Talk on Tap. Did I get that correctly? Trojan Talk on Tap.
That's right.
Got it.
Too many shows to remember here for me, but appreciate that. And Rick, Tony, and Tim have made this USC venture extremely special. And again, first class out of these three. And again, tonight we're highlighting more than anything the postgame show, which for USC gets started a week earlier than just about everybody else in college football with the date against San Jose State.
We're looking for, and it's on the Pac-12 network. So one of our last two games ever on the Pac-12 network. Thank the Lord.
And Tony does a remarkable job, as you know, this offseason at the high level, university level. And, one of the things that Tony's been working on is USC is still looking for an athletic director. And I think, Tony, you had a post today. And what are your thoughts on that?
So there's a lot, rumors are rampant. College AD, which is a website, it's sort of like a 247 message board site, news site almost, but like for athletic directors kind of stuff, has said that sort of the leading candidates they believe, or they've heard, or they know people that are interviewing are, we've heard UCLA's AD. We don't know if that's true or not. He's certainly been talked about a lot. He'd be great. We've heard about Desiree Reed-Francois from Missouri. We've heard about Illinois' AD, Pitt's AD, Heather Lyke, who's fantastic. Pat Chun at Washington State. Now, I'll tell you the one that I would love, and I don't know if she will do it or not, but Sandy Barbour, who's from Cal and Penn State, the great Penn State AD, has been with us for the past 4 months or so as kind of a temporary gravitas, sort of temporary AD. I would love nothing more than if she would stay, but I don't know if she will. And then the other one that people are talking about, and she just signed a contract extension, so I don't know if she would do it or not, is Jen Cohen from Washington. So it's looking like it could be one of them. It could be somebody out of the blue, but those are the names that everybody's talking about for USC AD.
All right, guys. Again, thank you so much for all that you do. It's again, you guys continue to exceed my expectations, even though they're extremely high at this point, because everything you guys touch is first rate, first class, and it is just an amazing addition to everything that we do here on our Voice of College Football Network. So, since
thank you to you, Mark. I just want to say thank you to you for help giving us the chance, and thank you to the whole audience.
And since Tony did point out that the first game's on the Pac-12 network, it probably makes it even more crucial for everyone to show up for post-game to find out what actually happened.
Yes.
True.
So,
true.
Tony, you're amazing. Thank you for all that you do here, Mark, for us. Rick, thank you so much for your contribution. You guys have been just loyal contributors and just amazing with, again, things that I would have never dreamt of to come up with. You guys have filled in the creative aspect of bolstering this channel for sure.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you. We'll see you soon. Fight on.
Good to see you, Tony. Good to see you, Rick. All right. So it's apropos tonight that we would start our look at our postgame shows here at the Voice of College Football with one of those teams, one of the very few that will be playing on August 26th, week 0. So catch Tim, Tony, and Rick for USC postgame following the San Jose State game 1 week from tomorrow night, if you can believe it. All right, we will keep it moving here at the Voice of College Football to highlight another post game, and let's go to another team that expects to compete for a championship this year. And I believe we've got George on his side. I don't know if he's laying in bed. George, how you doing tonight? Hello, George. Can you hear us?
Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know what's going on with the studio. I guess I'm going to have to not use my stand here, take my camera and turn it sideways.
There we go.
I don't know what's going on with the studio here.
So we've got George with Renegade Report. George is going to be hosting our Florida State post game, beginning with an epic battle for a second consecutive year against LSU as the Seminoles and the Tigers get together in Orlando. So, George, how you doing tonight?
Man, just excited, man. Thanks for having me on here. I was really enjoying those USC guys, man. I can learn a lot for those guys, man. It looks like they have a lot of fun with what they do. Kind of like they said, I'm just real appreciative for the opportunity and looking forward to September 3rd, man, to get this thing kicked off. We've got big plans for that first post-game show in Orlando. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, thank you, George, because if you wouldn't have stepped up, we would have most likely not had a FSU post game this season. And we definitely need some Florida State post game because we're expecting big things out of the Noles and certainly at the very least an ACC championship game appearance. But again, it starts out on a Sunday night when College Football Nation is going to be focused on nowhere else but Orlando, Florida for a second consecutive year. And I think whoever is the one responsible for making sure that Florida State for a second consecutive year is playing, and they've done this a number of times. You know, they played Ole Miss in a similar situation in Orlando about 5 years ago. Alabama on an opening night where college football fans coast to coast had to be focused on Florida State because it was the only game in town. And so that's brilliant marketing for your school to not be competing against anybody else. They had a similar situation against Florida on a Friday night last weekend of the season to be the game and the only game that's available. And so that's great promotion for Florida State football.
Absolutely. They've had a history. That's one thing that our administration has really loved doing through the years, like you said, whether it was Ole Miss to start the season years ago in 2016, I believe it was. All eyeballs are going to be on Florida State, like you said, that Sunday. We do numbers. I believe we average around 3 million. You know, last year it was a big graphic shared all over the internet. I got to imagine this thing might be, you know, top 5 games of the year. It's going to be a lot of fun. You've got number 5 LSU versus number 8 FSU, like you said, only game in town. It kind of stinks having to wait and, you know, go through week 0 and watch all the other games. I can't wait to get out there and see the boys take the field. But yeah, it'll be nice to be the only game in town, and we're really going to live it up. We're going to head down to Orlando the day before. Chris Frazier and James Coleman, 2 more FSU Voice of College Football contributors. They throw a big tailgate down there, so we're going to party it up and go watch the game and come out, and that's where we're going to shoot the post-game live show from the tailgate. Hopefully have some Knoll alumni pop in. James and Chris will say hello, some old Voice of College Football alumni. We're hoping Logan's going to stop by. We'll see how that works out, but it's going to be a lot of fun, man. Just a lot of fun down in Orlando on Church Street. And can't wait.
Wish I could be there. Maybe next year I'll be out and about a little bit more. That's the plan, to hit the road a little bit more. And especially when it's a lone game all by itself, as I did, let's see, in 2019 when Florida and Miami played in Orlando, we made it down to highlight that game. But again, George is going to be hosting the Florida State post game. We all get together every Wednesday night for FSU Live. That's over on the Florida State channel, everyone. Every Wednesday at 6 o'clock Eastern time with George, with Chris, with Logan, whoever we can corral that particular week. And we also want to make everyone aware of Renegade Report. It's right here on YouTube, so it's easy to find. You just type in Renegade Report in your search bar, and you can follow George and what he's got going on. So what are people going to find these days on Renegade Report?
Yeah, so we just launched our flagship podcast. So every Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern, we do our live stream. This week we got Seymour Stacks and Sam from the Listen Up podcast. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Last week for our debut episode, we had James and Chris. So just check that out. And we also do a Twitter space live at noon Eastern on Wednesdays called FSU Real Talk. Those are the two main things. But just trying to keep the content coming for you guys, keep everybody up to date with camp wrapping up. We're about halfway through camp, I'd say, and just getting ready for September 3rd and putting out as much content as we can and doing as much stuff with you guys and the voice of college football.
Nice. LSU number 5, Florida State number 8. It came down to a blocked PAT at the gun last season. Now they play in Orlando. Both teams believe that they can play for a conference championship and for a college football playoff appearance. To me, it's a coin flip. So, George, you tell me why Florida State's going to be just a little bit better.
You know, when you look at it, it's just two teams kind of in different spots as far as development. But when you look at the talent, it's really kind of close. You know, they've recruited better high school. They've got a kind of higher level of talent. But the difference to me is just going into year 4, Florida State just has a lot less question marks, you know, all over the place. The main spot is going to be that Florida State wide receivers versus the LSU defensive backs. I've had a lot of guys get on to me. You know, I guess I really, really upset the LSU crowd with kind of how we talked about the LSU wide receivers versus the FSU wide receivers. But when you look at it, their second and third wide receivers combined have like 600 yards. And, you know, Johnny Wilson had 900. Keelan Coleman had 800. The last year Winston was healthy, he had 800. So I just like our depth and all our returning production. I think that's just going to be the difference. You know, I don't see Jaden being able to get the ball over our safeties' heads. If they do, then look out. It's going to be a barn burner. But if it goes how I'm thinking and we can control the run game and get those wide receivers going, I like us by a touchdown.
George, you have yourself a good night and good rest of your weekend. I know that this is going to be one of the last relaxing weekends before, in a good way, you're going to be amped up and ready to go each and every weekend to, of course, report on Florida State football after the Seminoles go final every week. So we'll be looking forward to that first one on a Sunday night, FSU and LSU from Orlando. That's George. You can catch him at Renegade Report right here on YouTube, and after every Florida State game over on the FSU channel here at the Voice of College Football. George, good to see you, and have a great weekend, sir.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Mark, and I'll try to figure out how to work this studio and get my side right next time. Go Noles.
I am used to technical issues. Believe me, I've had my fair share over the years, so no worries there.
Absolutely.
Thanks, George.
Have a good one, Mark.
You too. All right. Yeah. FSU live on Wednesday nights at 6 Eastern time, and then FSU postgame with George after the games each and every week. We keep it moving here. We're going to talk Oregon Ducks. Of course, they found a home for 2024 in the Big Ten, but they're going to want to end the Pac history with a championship, and Oregon last won the Pac-12 in 2019 at the Rose Bowl. And, of course, won the Pac-12 championship, then the Rose Bowl over Wisconsin. And we're going to highlight the Ducks this season with an Oregon post-game show, which involves our buddy Exploring with Ben. Also, we've got two Seans, Sean and Spaz, and we've got Derek as well. And we got Spaz dropping by to talk some Oregon football with us. Spaz, what's going on tonight?
Just getting ready for some primetime college football coming up soon, and about 2 weeks away. What are we? 15 days. I think I saw a post today. 15 days. And,
15 days, unless you are into anybody in week 0.
Yeah. And I'm really excited about this team this year. I'm really excited to be doing this show with Ben and you, and just super excited. This is something I've always kind of been wanting to do for many years, but I never could get anybody solid. It was like you'd have a guy for a week and then he'd disappear the next week, and then you're trying to figure out what to do and how to put the show together. And so I think
If
I got a
nothing
good
else,
career.
Spaz, we are solid here at the Voice of College Football. We've been here for 10 plus years and we're cranking it out every day.
Yeah, and I'm super excited to get on something this connected and very well put together. And I'm just hoping that this team can have a little bit better end of the season than we did last year. Bo Nix getting hurt didn't help, but I like our depth. I like where we stand. Our defense is much improved over last year. Our defense was horrendous. You couldn't stop the pass for nothing, and that's what killed us in the Washington game and several others. We just had to. The Washington State game was lucky to win, and the Oregon State game, just gonna forget that even happened last year. But as long as
they kind of ran the ball down your throats in that one.
Yeah, as long as Bo stays healthy, we got so much depth at receiver with Jurion Dickey and Trayshawn Holden, and the backs with Wennington and Brooks and the freshman Dorless and those guys. This team is a very dangerous team if we stay healthy.
It's always special to win a conference championship, but when you think about, and this is really the first time any of us can relate to this, going back to the last season of the Southwest Conference, and that was in 1995, so close to 30 years. So this is historic when you can become the last Pac-12 champion before they pretty much close the books on an entire history of football for 100 years. That would be something else.
Yes, very much. I think it's going to come down to Oregon, probably SC, and maybe Washington. I think Washington and Utah are overrated. I think Utah's going to have a big trouble going very far unless they get Cam Rising back. And as far as what I've heard, it doesn't look like he's probably going to play at least until the conference opens up, and they could be like 1-2 by then, 1-3.
Yeah, a couple difficult out of conference games for Utah, taking on Baylor and taking on, of course, Florida at Rice-Eccles, and then they've got the one G5 game before they get into Pac-12 play. Want to remind everyone, not only do we have Ducks post game after every game with Sean, Ben, and Derek, we also have Oregon Live coming your way, to be determined in terms of day and time. So be looking out for that. Ducks Live during the week over on the Oregon channel, then Ducks post game with these guys after every Oregon game. So I'm looking forward to it. I appreciate you guys partnering with us so we can deliver Oregon post game for everyone.
Appreciate the opportunity, Mark, and we're looking to have a good, fun season this year. Ben and the other Sean are going to be in Lubbock on September 9th, and we're hoping to get some post-game live with them and hopefully some winning players, and maybe we'll get lucky and get Dan Lanning on for a few brief seconds. That's their goal. They're going to be tailgating and having a good time together, and then we're going to hopefully meet up at the post-game and deliver some good news. That's
a sneaky, under the radar, really good matchup there. I'm looking forward to that one. Texas Tech and Oregon. All right, Spaz, appreciate you being here. And again, welcome to the Voice of College Football. It's great to have you. And we look forward to enjoying the season with you.
All right. Thanks, Mark. Go Ducks.
All right. So again, it's Exploring with Ben. We all know him. He's going to be hosting our College Football After Dark show on Sunday nights, starting this Sunday, I believe, this Sunday night at 10 o'clock Eastern Time with Exploring with Ben. And then it's Ben, it's Sean, and it's Derek doing postgame here at the Voice of College Football for the Oregon Ducks, as you see on the banner. And then an Oregon live show to be determined in regards to day and time, but you can bank on it. Ducks live during the week as well. All right, next up here at the Voice of College Football, let's talk some Notre Dame. We've got Sean stopping by from the two Irish brothers who are going to be hosting our Notre Dame post game here at the Voice of College Football. Sean, good to see you.
Good to see you too, Mark. And I got to tell you, we sure do have a lot of Sean's and Ben's here.
Sean's and Ben's. I will do my best to keep you guys sorted out, but I think you're all pretty distinct. It won't be too difficult. So good to see you, Sean. And I got to say thank you so much for responding and for stepping up for us and for partnering with us on Notre Dame post game. It is exciting to have you and Ben, another Ben, jumping on board and delivering Notre Dame post game for us.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here, and we thank you guys, you and Joey, for giving us the opportunity. And we can't wait till next week when week 0 gets underway, and I will be in Ireland for the game.
That's right, you will be there. So when are you headed out?
Well, we are planning on flying out on Tuesday afternoon. We will be arriving very early Wednesday morning in Ireland, about 5:15. And we're coming home on, I want to say, the following Monday.
And that game, I believe, is at 2:30 Eastern. So is that a 7:30? I'm going to take a guess. 7:30 at night?
Yeah, they are 6 hours ahead of us, at least from Central Time anyway.
Okay, 8:30. So
yep. So it's a night game over there this time around. The previous couple times it was us having to get up very early in the morning to watch it. I know we were having, I was young I was only 10 in 96 when the first game happened, but I remember my dad and stepmom were making brunch and having mimosas and all that for the game. And so it's really cool seeing the time differences from one time zone to the other. It's very fascinating.
Yeah. So folks, similar to the USC situation, realize that Notre Dame is getting a jump on just about everyone else with a week 0 game that I cannot recall Notre Dame playing this early before. I don't know that they've played even any kickoff classics that I can recall going back to the 80s and 90s. This might be the earliest Notre Dame game on record.
Well, I know back in 2012 we played Navy in Ireland, and I think that was a week 0 game. Without leaving the country, I think the earliest we played was I think it was 2002. Actually, that was in the kickoff classic against Maryland back in 2002.
Yeah, we're still playing that in 2002. Okay.
Yeah, and then I think. In Charlie Weiss's first season in 2005, I'm not sure if this was week 0 or not, but we played Pitt pretty early that year.
Okay. I was kind of curious about that Notre Dame Maryland game. I don't remember that one per se, but the kickoff classic was defunct not long after that one.
I don't remember seeing it much.
Why is this going to be a big season for the Irish?
Well, I think it's going to be a big season for starters. A lot of us weren't happy with the 9-4 record, especially 2 of those losses, which in my opinion should not have been losses. But, we talked about this already in the videos that we did already about, inconsistent quarterback play being probably the biggest problem. But it's different this year because we have an established veteran quarterback. All of our young guys are pretty well seasoned. We have a loaded running back room, in my opinion, a loaded receiver room. Defense, especially the defensive backfield, it's very young, up and coming. We have a strong veteran linebacking core, and even with the losses that we suffered on the defensive line, I still think it's going to be phenomenal. So all the pieces are put in place, It's just being able to capitalize on it.
So how do you rate success at Notre Dame, even from year to year? Because I've often thought that for all the detractors out there, and I at times am one, and I often lay the blame at college football's feet, not at Notre Dame's feet, because Notre Dame, just like any other entity, is going to do what's best for them. So it's not their issue. They're going to do whatever, again, is best for them in regards to having their own TV contract, not playing in a conference, and doing all the other things that what they did in terms of taking advantage of ACC play in 2020. But when you don't play in a conference, what's the measurement of success?
Well, that's actually a pretty good question, because the term "what measures success," it's kind of been a generational thing, and this is just another way of looking at it. But you look at what Notre Dame has been like in recent history. We'll always have our great, outstanding traditional history with, the Newt Rockne and the legacy of like Joe Montana, Joe Theismann, all that stuff. But it's been a while since we've won a national championship. It's been a while since we've had a Heisman Trophy winner. We haven't won a major bowl game since the '94 Cotton Bowl. So there's a lot of we've been through a lot of changes, because ever since Lou Holtz retired, we went into a funk for about 15 years. And it wasn't until Brian Kelly, yes, I know how most Irish fans feel about him now, but he kind of put us back on the map. So there's been different points where what stipulates success is, it's been different. Like at one point, it was just trying to win 6 games a season. At one point, it was trying to win a postseason bowl game. And now we're back to the point where, okay, expectations are a little high. Or they're getting, what I mean by that is they're back to where they should be, where they used to be back in the day. But I think as it stands right now, there's a lot of things that you could factor into that. I mean, yes, of course, the rankings. Yes, of course, the win-loss record. But a big factor in that too is seeing improvement. Okay, this is going to be the second year of the Marcus Freeman regime. He's had a year under his belt to kind of, get himself situated and, comfortable and, understand and see the kind of talent that he does have on his team. So if I myself personally, if we take a drastic step backwards this year, like if we're not winning the games that we should, like, I'm sorry, like last year, for example, Marshall and Stanford never should have been losses. Never should have been losses, even with the quarterback play. But that's me. But that's me as a fan talking. That's why I'm not on the field. That's why I'm not on the sidelines.
Well, I think the non-fans would share the same sentiment that Notre Dame shouldn't be losing to 3-9 Stanford teams or Marshall teams. And I'm sure you've had to live with it every day since, from some direction of some kind of comments coming at you.
Yeah, I'm not even reading the comment section right now, to be honest with you, because I know I'd probably lose my cool. But no, I'm more professional than that. But yeah, I mean, it stung for a while, because who saw that coming? Nobody did. And yeah, as a fan, you know that you're going to hear it, but you have to accept it. It happened. You can't change it. So you got to deal with it. And I've always been that kind of person who dwells on it for a couple of days, but I'm like, all right, you got to move on. You got to move on. It's time to, you can't, if you dwell on it, then you're going to stay there. But one thing that we definitely need to see when it comes to success, not only how player development goes from the coaching staff, but we have to start seeing it, not just big games in the regular season, but we have to start seeing Notre Dame at just for a start. Now, of course, as a fan, I want to see us win the national title every year. But just as a start, I would love to see us at least win an NY6 bowl game, just for a start. But hey, if we're getting back to the point where it's national championship or bust every year, of course, I love it. But I got to be honest with you, our fan base, I question it sometimes. I question if the faith is still there. I mean, for example, you look at Georgia, 2017, half the stadiums were red. Cincinnati, 2021, not half red, but too much. Going all the way back to 2000.
Cincinnati,
number one Nebraska.
Sorry to interrupt there. Cincinnati.
No, that's fine.
I know. I remember watching the game, but I wasn't at the game, so I don't remember there being that kind of contingent for Cincinnati. But that's a bit surprising.
Yeah, and even back to when in 2000, like I was saying, number one Nebraska comes to South Bend, half the stadium red. And Mark, I know you're an Ohio State fan, right? You're an Ohio State guy.
Yeah, nobody's supposed to know that. I'm just kidding. Yes, I'm an Ohio State fan. Yeah.
I wonder about that game when it comes to town this upcoming season. Fifth game of the season. What's the stadium going to look like then? So that's something that I've really noticed is our fan base has really started to care less. And I can't say everybody, but what I refer to them as is the 1%, the negative Nancy's, if you will. I've called them worse, but I'm going to keep it clean for your show here.
You can cut loose there, Sean. You need to. What do you call these people?
Well, then it's nothing nasty, but when we made the playoffs back in 2020 and we went up against Alabama, I never heard the word realist more in my whole life than I did for that 1 month. All these Notre Dame fans not giving the team a chance because we were playing a tough opponent. I just hear constantly, I'm a realist. I'm a realist. I'm a realist. I'm like, well, then why are you even cheering for the team then? Go cheer for somebody else. Watch another game. Because do you think the playoffs are going to be easy? That's what I've never understood. We have our fan base, that at least that 1% anyway, maybe 2%, I don't know. But never have I seen us not want to make the playoffs or to make the national championship. It's crazy. So, I mean, and a lot of this is just speculation too, but all I'm saying is things have really changed because so many people in our fan base used to get so excited every year, even when things weren't going so well, they'd get excited. But, you got them selling their tickets now. You have them really not caring. They care more about the point spread for gambling than they do actually just watching the team and having fun. So that's a problem that we've had to deal with lately. And so I would like to think that in terms of success, winning the fans back could play a little bit of a factor into that as well.
So Sean, if you ever hosted a post-game show.
No, I have not.
So exactly. You're going to have to deal with some irate Irish fans, possibly, unless you run the table, of course.
Yeah, I've see, that's the thing. My buddy Ben, who unfortunately couldn't be on here tonight, because for those of you who don't know, my buddy Ben and I on our channel, the Two Irish Brothers, we work different work schedules. I work during the day, he works during the night, so he's not able to be here at this time unless he takes the night off. And I like this comment from Clint Moses. Participation ribbon is the golden standard. So how some people treat it, yeah. But no, there is no participation trophies. But anyway, yeah, what I was going to say with Ben is he's been pretty much my counterbalance, because I used to get, I would go full-blown raw. And I actually had a video that I posted on our channel the night after we lost to Stanford. And I cut loose big time. But you know what? It did get us overnight like 5,000 views and 50 subscribers. So I guess if raw emotion sells, then yeah. But no, seriously though, I'm going to be very professional, keep it cool, not cuss anybody out. Everybody's entitled to an opinion, even if it's one that I don't like. So I will be very prepared for it.
Sean, you are more than welcome to bring the 50 subscriber standard increase over to our channel each show.
Well, I'll think about it. But yeah, no, again, Mark, this is an awesome opportunity opportunity to give us a chance to, give Ben and I a chance to reach a broader audience and show what kind of things we can do, what kind of talk we can have, and what we can bring to the table. Maybe something different that other people haven't heard before, different opinions, different views, and so on. So I guess we'll find out.
So we want to make sure everyone's aware of what's going on here and where they can lock in on Sean and Ben's work. So on a regular basis, it's the Two Irish Brothers. You can find it right here on YouTube. The Two Irish Brothers, just put it in the search bar and you'll be able to find it immediately. And what are people going to find there?
Well, as of late, we haven't done a ton. It's mostly just been a lot of shorts of past Notre Dame highlights to for our countdown to the 2023 season. But usually a lot of our stuff we do on the weekends. During the season, we've always done a pregame video on Sunday, and then we'll usually do the post game the following Sunday after the game. And then we've been trying to do this on Fridays, but it hasn't always worked out. Our colleague Ryan, that is kind of like our third wheel. Him and I do a Friday evening live stream, and so yeah, that's what the schedule's been for now.
And then you are going to make your debut here at the Voice of College Football on Saturday, correct?
I think technically from my end of things, it might be Sunday, but yes.
Oh, yes. Yes. You're going to be across the pond. So it's going to be Sunday for you. But for everyone else, I believe at 8 Eastern, 5 Eastern.
That sounds about right.
Something like that. Well, everybody look out for the notifications because I don't know exactly when it's going to be. But Sean and Ben are going live with Notre Dame football coverage this Saturday, and that's going to be broadcast on the Notre Dame channel and also here on the national channel, as will each post-game show. You'll be able to find that here on the national channel and over on the Notre Dame channel as well. So we appreciate that. So again, this Saturday, Notre Dame live, and then throughout the season, post-game after each Notre Dame game, and then catch the Two Irish Brothers right here on YouTube on a regular basis.
And I would also like to add one thing. Ben and I are trying real hard to get former Notre Dame players on the show. So be on the lookout for those special videos as well.
Very nice. That's very cool. Sean, thank you so much for taking this on and partnering with us here at the Voice of College Football. We look forward to seeing you on Saturday, first and foremost, and then, of course, next Saturday with post-game, and have a safe trip and enjoy your time over in Ireland.
Oh, I'll get some footage for all you guys, and I think it'll be a blast. This will be my third time going there.
That's awesome. All right, Sean, thank you so much. Good to see you, and have a good night.
You do the same, Mark, and thank you again for this opportunity.
And once again, here in 2023, one of the key games in college football with national implications is going to be another Clemson game against Notre Dame. And so we segue to our Clemson guys, and we've got Jordan Bowman here. I believe we've got Tiger Paw. Where is he? There he is. We'll bring in Tiger Paw Craven as well. Why did that not click him in? Bam. There we go. Guys, how we doing tonight?
Great, Mark. Glad to be here.
Yeah, doing really good.
So not enough people know that you guys get together every Thursday night to talk Clemson football. So, folks, get on over to the Clemson channel every Thursday night at typically 7 o'clock Eastern time for some Clemson football talk. So we need to get some bounce over there because these guys are too good. They know their stuff. They know Clemson football. And when you marry the passion with the insight and the knowledge, it's always a good time. They'll mix it up with you. You don't have to be a Clemson fan. Just be a college football fan and show up. So again, Clemson channel every Thursday at 7. What else are you guys up to this offseason that's ending very quickly here?
Yeah, I mean, Mark, we're just kind of ramping up towards the season. We've had a couple of guests on, special guests from Notre Dame. Trying to get a big Clemson show coming together this week. with some other Clemson content creators. That'll be really, really cool. But yeah, we're just getting ready. Fall camp for Clemson just concluded, and so we're just kind of getting ready for the season. So I mean, you guys, if you're interested and want to hear the Clemson fan perspective, go ahead and tune into our all-in show, Clemson Tigers Live. We go live every Thursday at 7 p.m. So it's a good time.
That's a media poll that came out the other day. And then the Coaches Bowl, of course, was a week earlier. I think pretty much underlines, although many of us, including myself, put very little stock in it, it does show us what pretty much is the general consensus across college football about what the ACC is going to look like this year. Florida State, Clemson. This is how most people see it. Do you guys see it like that?
You know, Mark, it kind of depends. It's kind of an interesting question when you talk about the Florida State situation, because they've made a lot of changes this offseason. Obviously, they have a lot of guys coming back, but they made a lot of additions in the transfer portal. They were riding high at the end of last season, won their last 6 games. So I mean, you're kind of seeing a lot of the media hype. They think that Florida State is a potential ACC championship, college football playoff contender. And I will say, I think that at least the guys that will be starting for them this year are going to be really, really good. I don't have much question about that. But I think with the unknowns about Clemson as well, with the hire of Garrett Riley, the breaking in of Cade Klubnik at quarterback, it's really hard to kind of gauge where these two teams are in relation to each other. I would still lean Clemson, just as the homer in me wants to lean Clemson, and obviously they're the defending ACC champions. But it does seem like Florida State has closed the gap, and they are ascending. So it's going to be a really interesting season.
What do you think, Tiger Paw?
Look, it's the conversation between FSU and Clemson, especially this year, is super interesting, right? If you're listening to the national media and most of the people talking about college football right now, everybody's got kind of Florida State and Clemson kind of right there, neck and neck together in all the rankings and everything like that. But most of them have Florida State kind of a step above Clemson. They're right above Clemson. Although the ACC media did vote Clemson to win the ACC this year in the preseason, so we'll see how it works out. It's definitely it's an interesting debate because it's kind of the tale of two approaches, right? You got a guy, Mike Norvell, at Florida State, who's really having to try to recreate a culture at FSU and kind of build a program back to where it used to be. And he's taken the approach of he's got to utilize the portal, right? He cannot wait year in and year out to, do high school recruiting and wait to build it that way. We live in an era of college football where the transfer portal's there, and as short as coaches' leashes were before, I believe they've gotten even shorter with the transfer portal. People expect instant results when you take over a team. And that's kind of Mike Norvell's approach. He's taken a lot out of the transfer portal. And if you look at their transfer portal class, I mean, they did about as good as you could possibly do. I think the interesting thing is going to be see how all those pieces kind of mesh together. You don't really know, right? They got to mesh together as a team. They're individuals, looking at them from a transfer portal standpoint, were really highly rated. They got all the guys that they really wanted, but now they got to mesh those guys, especially along the offensive line, mesh those guys as a team. I'm a Clemson guy, so I think Clemson's still on top as far as the ACC. In my opinion, you got to prove it on the field. No one cares about preseason stuff. No one cares about rankings and stuff like that. You got to prove it on the field. And until they beat Clemson, we're still the top dog in the ACC as far as I'm concerned.
So you're completely right. There's no question about that. Clemson, even in a season in which a lot of people would consider it a down season because of the efforts outside of the conference, still ran through that conference with 9 consecutive wins, including a 4-touchdown win in the ACC championship game, a win over Florida State that, while it was close on the scoreboard, they had control of for most of the game. So no doubt there, but The only thing I'll throw back at you, Tiger Paw, is obviously if you're trying to predict the conference race, I totally get it. It's Clemson until proven otherwise. But just like Michigan turning the tide against Ohio State and Georgia against Alabama, that it happens at some point in these conferences. And I want to be the guy that's going to be ahead of the curve and predict it. And for some reason, while I have an easy time predicting games from week to week, and I don't mean I get them all right, I mean I'm convicted on my picks. Boom, boom, boom. I can go through them, pick them. I rack my brain all off season coming up with scenarios and and I got to tell you, this, much like a couple other conferences, I'm going to be going until, practically game time, making a season prediction on where am I going. Now, the thing I'll say about Florida State is they bring back all this could have gone to the NFL draft talent led by Jared Verse. So I think they're in a place, I don't want to say that their program's going to drop off the cliff the next year. I think Mike Norvell's doing a nice job, but they do have a good situation this year to make a run for it. Whereas I see Clemson as, but I'm certainly not, I'll stick with Florida State here for a second. They could only beat who was on the schedule, but they didn't really give me much to go on there. In terms of the 6 consecutive wins down the stretch, Oklahoma and Florida were probably the 2 best teams that they beat. So they didn't prove it to me against anyone. And again, they don't make the schedule. And once Wake, NC State, and you guys beat them, they turned it around. Whereas Clemson, I seem to be a little bit more sure, despite the inexperienced quarterback play, of where Clemson is as a program. And I think after a bit of a dip, there are signs that there's a chance, despite this number 9 ranking by the media, which has got to be the lowest they've had in 2012, 2013 preseason.
Yeah, I think we
probably.
I think we might have been 15th. I think in 2015, because or something like that. It was
Things turned
something
out
close to that.
okay that year. They were able to make a run. So So again, 13 of the 25 in the AP poll preseason last year didn't finish ranked. So let's not bank too much on that. But yeah, I'm still trying to figure out if Clemson is going to be Clemson again. Cade Klubnik, you guys would be able to evaluate his play much better than I. I saw a quarterback that was thrown into a very difficult spot in South Bend, down 21-0 or 21-7 or whatever the score was.
I don't want to remember that game,
like at his own 5-yard line or something
like that.
And then the Syracuse game, give him all the credit in the world. He led a comeback, although he didn't have a whole lot to do with it, but he was on the field. They threw him in the game. You're down a score or two. He leads that win. And he's got to play an Orange Bowl game against a talented Tennessee defense, but not a very good one. And had some issues there. So he's had some valuable experience against some good competition in big spots. We'll see how much he's learned in 8 or 9 months.
Yeah, he's definitely got some.
And that's kind of, the linchpin of Clemson season.
No, you're good.
A little bit of a lag there. My fault.
Go ahead, Jordan. You're good.
But yeah, no. I think Cade is the linchpin of Clemson's season. I mean, obviously, they go how he goes, and his progression this offseason with the addition of Garrett Riley. Obviously, they let go of Brandon Streeter. I think was a paramount move for his development. And so, the early returns, from spring and fall have been really, really encouraging and exciting. But at the end of the day, you gotta show it. He was the number 2, number 1 in some places, number 3, the top 3 in his class. The talent is there. He won a lot of games at Westlake. So he's the kind of quarterback that Clemson typically has a lot of success with. He's gotten the Deshaun Watson comparisons from Dabo because of kind of how he came in and just kind of the profile. And so Well, I do not expect Deshaun Watson level play from Cade Klubnik. I do think that the potential is there, and I think this offensive system is tailor made for his skill set. So it really just comes down to the pieces around him. There's been a lot's been made about the wide receiver room. The past couple of years, Clemson used to brand itself as wide receiver U, but that has not been the case the last couple of seasons. The offensive line is, while it got better last year, still has some question marks. You do bring back 4 or 5 starters, and you have to replace your left tackle. But there seems to be some signs of growth from that group. So I think that, and that along with the talented running backs you have in Will Shipley and Phil Maffa, and you think you have a really good tight end group as well. I think this offense has the pieces to be a really explosive offense in 2023. So, but at the end of the day, we got to see it. And that's kind of the difference between Clemson being a pretty good team to being, a college football playoff contender.
Absolutely.
This Duke team is no joke. So what's going to be interesting there is they are playing a game on this opening Monday night that Clemson's used to. Their players are used to playing these kind of games where everybody's going to be watching them. Duke's not used to this. And they're coming off a heck of a season. If people really look to see what Duke accomplished last year, it's not just a 9-4 record and a bowl win. Nobody beat them badly. Like a lot of times you'll see a team trend up and a coach come in and clean some things up and have a nice little 7-5, 8-4 turnaround. But, the 4 or 5 losses are ugly. And they're really not that good, but nobody beat them badly. They had a ton of close losses. They go 8-4. They came that close to going to the ACC championship game. They had a touchdown scored on North Carolina with about 3 or 4 minutes left in that game that would have given them a 2-score lead. And it was a ticky-tack penalty that took the score off the board. They lose on a field goal to North Carolina, or a late touchdown to UNC. Otherwise, they're playing in the ACC championship game last year. Mike Elko did a remarkable job. The other thing that I noticed the other day prepping for Duke, I've never seen this before. Everybody who caught a pass and everyone who rushed for a yard is back. They have 10 of 11 starters back on offense, and most of the defense is back. So it's an experienced team that played a lot of close games last year. They didn't play this kind of game where everybody was watching them, but they played a lot of close games against some good teams. So this isn't necessarily we're just going to trounce Duke 45-14 and keep going.
Yeah, no, this is not the Duke team of old, right? This is not, you kind of look at that game on your schedule as far as the ACC is concerned, and you're like, okay, that just chalk that up as a win, right? This team is competitive, and they obviously have zero quit in them. You saw not even just their losses, but their wins a lot of those were close games as well. So they're a team that's gonna come out and fight. I think they're excited about this game. They've obviously, have kind of circled it. Their social media's poked at Clemson a little bit over the offseason, which is kind of cool. I like to see it. It's always exciting when stuff like that happens in college football. They made a little video kind of poking fun at Dabo Swinney and how he runs down the hill, which was super funny, by the way. I thought it was hilarious. But this Duke team, look, Clemson's got to go in there and they gotta play their best football. And we are breaking in a new offensive coordinator and a new starting quarterback, even though he started, basically one game, but really 2 games if you count the ACC championship game. He played every down except one series. So, it's going to be interesting. We're going to find out how good this offense is, how different it's going to look. We're going to know pretty early on. But one of the things that I think can help Clemson, especially with this season opener, is our ability to run the ball. We have a very deep running back room. We got 4 returning starters along the offensive line. We are replacing the left tackle, but that seems to be being worked out probably here in the next week or so. They haven't named a starter, but we're pretty sure that's probably locked up for the most part. But I think we can really lean on that running game. And with Garrett Riley and his creative play calling, I think he's going to do something that we've been wanting to see for a long time, and that's just play to your strengths, get the ball in the playmakers' hands, and let them go out there and work. Let them make the defense wrong. And I think if we do that, it's going to be a good game. I'm excited that it's a standalone game. All eyes are going to be on Clemson. All eyes are going to be on that receiving room for sure. But I definitely think Clemson's going to come in and bring their A game in the season opener.
Folks, every Thursday night, Tiger Paw, Craven, and Jordan get together for Clemson Live, the All-In Show. It's over on the Clemson channel at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. They know what they're talking about. They have fun. You can jump in the chat. You can post questions. You can get after them. You can do whatever you want. They got thick skin. They don't care. They want your debates. They want your arguments. They want your trolling. Let them have it. And then they will, of course, deliver Clemson post game after every Clemson game, starting with the big Monday night game against Duke on the road for Clemson. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. I don't say it enough. Appreciate you being here and appreciate all that you do. And I know you thank me from time to time about the opportunity, but you deliver so much more than I do. So thank you so much for everything that you're doing for the Clemson channel and for all of us here at the Voice of College Football.
Thank you, Mark.
Absolutely, Mark. Thank you. Everybody in the chat, you don't have to be a Clemson fan. Come hang out with us, 7 p.m. on Thursdays.
Absolutely. Good to see you, Jordan. Thank you. Tiger Paw Craven, good to see you. You guys have a great night.
See you, Mark.
All right, let's keep it moving. And again, that's Jordan Bowman. That's Tiger Paw Craven. They do their Clemson show, the All-In Show, every Thursday night at 7 o'clock Eastern Time on the Clemson channel. Clemson channel is top-notch thanks to those two. And thanks to our regular appearances that we get with Jason Priester. We just recorded with Jason this afternoon. We'll release those segments coming up here shortly as well. We will keep it moving. We want to make sure we get to our post-game hosts. Those are the reasons. That is the reason why we are here tonight. First and foremost, we do have Matthew Miller checking in to talk some Texas. Matthew, what's going on tonight?
Hey, Mark, what's up? I'm super excited. We are so close to the beginning of the season. For Texas, I think week 2 is when the season starts for us. So super excited for that game. Can't wait.
No respect for the Owls of Rice. Come on.
You can't lose to food, Mark. You can't lose to food.
That's it. Cannot let that happen. Even though, yes, mighty Rice, yes. But that Texas Alabama
at his
game.
Third stop, though.
Yes, JT Daniels on his third stop, on his fourth stop.
Yeah, but we played him, I believe, at we played him at USC, West Virginia, Rice.
Okay.
Did he have another stop? We didn't play him at Georgia. That's the only place we didn't play him at.
Okay, yeah, JT Daniels. I forget about that. That's quite the career path for one JT Daniels, from 5-star hotshot at USC to the quarterback who constantly fended off Stetson Bennett for the starting job, although he couldn't stay healthy to keep it, to West Virginia, and 5 wins to Rice. An NFL training camp. He's needing to do anything he possibly can to just get himself to an NFL training camp is what he needs to do.
Yeah.
But concerning Texas, they might have 3 guys that will see NFL training camps here in the next few years, in Ewers, Manning, and Murphy. Malik Murphy seems to get forgotten just because he doesn't have necessarily the name that the other two. But my goodness, if anyone's checked out the Texas spring game or anything else on tape from Malik Murphy, they will be fortunate to keep him in burnt orange, I would think.
Yeah, we would be very fortunate. I mean, at this point, I think Quinn's obviously going to be the starter, been named the starter, taking first-team reps since the spring game. And Sark said that right after the spring game. He said he basically questioned the media, like, did you think there was a real competition here because Quinn's our guy? Malik was definitely the starter or second string coming out of that game. Arch was definitely third, but Arch has made steady progress throughout the spring. It's been said that the last couple weeks he's really turned it on. He had a run mark in one of the scrimmages where he clocked over 20 miles per hour running. So that's way faster than either of his uncles. I'll put it that way. So I think he's got a chance next year, but next year we'll worry about that. It's going to be between those two guys. We got to worry about what Quinn does this year. And you're right. I do believe if Malik Murphy doesn't win the job next year, he'll be gone. I'm not so sure about Arch. I wouldn't write him off. I could see him sitting 2 years, but yeah, if Malik doesn't win it next year, I think he's gone. He's not going to want to sit for 3 years in a row. And it would be basically 4 years because he's not going to beat Arch if Arch gets the job next year or the year after.
So there's a couple different ways to feel about Quinn Ewers starting a second season here. One would be the ceiling's so high and he had an entire off season to continue to work on those aspects of his game that need to be improved. But at the same time, hey, he didn't prove to be an elite quarterback. He had a certainly a great start against Alabama. And that was at the point, having not watched the opener, that I was like, okay, this is what all the hype's about, because you could just see the arm talent against Alabama, and unfortunately got knocked out of that game. And then he missed a few games. Then he was never, he had some good efforts. He had some lousy ones against Oklahoma State and TCU in particular. But how confident are you that Quinn Ewers is going to be the guy?
I'm confident he will be better than last year. Am I confident he's going to be a Heisman contender? I'm not super confident in that. I think all of those questions will be answered week 2 versus Alabama. I think that's what's so exciting about that week 2 game is there's going to be basically questions for both sides will be answered in that game because you're facing, in my opinion, 2 of probably the top 10 teams in the country. I think that's what it's going to come down to at the end of the year. I don't care about preseason polls. I think these are 2 top 10 teams at the end of the year. And I think Alabama will know if they have their quarterback. I think Texas will know if they have their quarterback. And I think Alabama will also know if they have any wide receivers that are worth anything. You know, Alabama had big trouble with their wide receivers last year. So that'll be interesting. Quinn, I don't know if he's ever going to reach the peak of the Alabama game because he was dropping dimes on up and down the field. But I know for sure we will never see another Oklahoma State performance. He's not going to throw under 50% completion percentage. He's not going to make wildly inaccurate throws like that again. I think we'll get somewhat closer to the Alabama game than most people expect. If we get that Quinn Ewers the whole year, then Texas is a national championship contender, period. That's a top 3, maybe at worst top 5 quarterback in the country. So for us Texas fans, that's what we're praying for. But the thing is, what we have to look forward to is this offensive line, this running back room, this wide receiver room is good enough to where if Quinn Ewers isn't even great, if he can just be good, we can still win and should win the Big 12.
Yeah, anyone that's listening to us right now knows who Bijan Robinson is. And if they're as good a crowd as I believe they are, and we've educated them as well as I believe we do here at the Voice of College Football, they should know who Roschon Johnson is. And you would think with those 2 backs gone that there would be some kind of void there. But this running back room could be nearly as good.
Yeah, I mean, you have Cedric Baxter, 5-star, number 1 running back out of last year's high school class. He's the backup to Jonathan Brooks, who was a high 3-star. This will be his 3rd year in the program. He's a redshirt sophomore. He played well in the time he did play. And I've said this for about a year, Mark, on your channel. Jonathan Brooks will have just as good a career numbers as Bijan Robinson. That does not make him a better running back. I never said that. Talent-wise, Bijan Robinson is on a different level. What I'm saying is, Jonathan Brooks behind the offensive line that we have in the wide receiver rooms that Sark continuously puts together is why he will have just as good as stats. He's not as good talent-wise. I'm going to keep saying that. He's not as good talent-wise. That's not what I'm saying. You also have Jaden Blue there, who's very highly rated. You have Keelan Robinson, who's still there, great in the return game, great in special teams, and also good catching out of the backfield. And we already have 2 top 20 running back recruits in the country for next year, the 2nd best running back in the country. And then Christian Clark is another guy we've added on top of that. So the running back room continues to be great for Texas. And we will miss Bijan. There's no doubt about that. There's not going to be another Bijan Robinson probably for at least the next decade at the University of Texas. But we still have some good guys in that room.
I think we both talked to enough college football fans and being ones ourselves that wide receiver might be the position that most fans get excited about, because those guys make freakish, fun, exciting plays. They may not be the most important guys on the field, but in terms of just, highlight type stuff, and Texas has those kind of guys.
Yeah, 100%. You have Xavier Worthy, you have A.D. Mitchell, you have Isaiah Nayer, who people forget from Wyoming, average, I believe, over 20 yards a catch at Wyoming. Towards ACL, the brace is finally off. He's playing without a brace now, so that's exciting. You have Jatavian Sanders, who, in my opinion, is the second best tight end in the country, behind obviously Brock Bowers. And I've had arguments, and I will continue to have arguments. You can say what you want about Brock Bowers. I think he's a great college player. I think Jatavian Sanders will be a better NFL player than Brock Bowers. You can put that down. That's what I believe. I think he's a better athlete overall. You also have Jordan Whittington, who's a great third down threat. And, I mean, there's still many more guys. We have Jonte Cook, who was a top 3 wide receiver coming out of high school. He's been great during camp. I would expect him to get a lot of reps. You have Casey Kane, who was pretty good last year. This wide receiver room is filled with talent. I think it's either the second or third best wide receiver room in the country. Obviously, Ohio State is in a tier of their own with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Ibuka there. So Texas, in my opinion, has the second. If you want to put them third, I won't argue with you, but they're definitely a top 3 room down there in Austin.
So the impossible question is that nobody questions the talent. And I've said this, and I believe you agree, that Texas not only has a ton of talent, but Texas has a wider gap of talent between them and the next best team in the Big 12 compared to any other conference in the nation. I think they have the widest gap between them and the rest of the league. That doesn't mean it's going to play out like that, but, Ohio State has Michigan and Penn State, and Georgia has Alabama and LSU and Tennessee, et cetera, et cetera. Everybody has somebody there at their level, and Texas has an opportunity to definitely separate themselves, but they have to prove, a bunch of players that have never really won big games, a coach who's never really won anything special. Like, they have to put together a season with a bunch of guys that have never done it.
Yeah, 100%. I think Josh Pate has a great saying about this. Everyone knows who he is if you follow college football. Texas has always had the ornaments. They never had the tree. And what I mean by that, they've always had the running backs. They've always had the wide receivers. They've sometimes even had the quarterback. They haven't had in the last decade and a half the offensive and defensive line. If you look at our offensive and defensive line, we are ready. The offensive line, a little bit more than defensive line. Kyle Flood came out and said last week, they have 8 guys they can play on the offensive line. 8. The last time you could say that for Texas, probably the 2005 national championship team. I don't even think the 2009 team that made the national championship had that. You have guys like DJ Campbell, who was the number 1 offensive lineman in the country coming out of high school last year, is number 2 on the depth chart right now, and he's climbing up fast. They've already talked about how he's dominating in practice, and when he's confident, he basically mauls people. It would not shock me if he takes Hayden Connor, who is our left guard's job this year. That's how talented that guy is. There's 2 other guys with Cam Williams and Nada Omo Uzulu. I always mess that name up. High 4-star recruit. This offensive line is going to be good. It's going to be one of the 10 best offensive lines in the country. They've already put it out. They want to go for the Joe Moore Award. That's what they've said. That's their goal this year. And they have the talent to do that. And that's the thing people don't realize when they talk about Texas. I saw McDee's comment, Texas won't make the Big 12 championship game. Listen, I've been breaking down every room in the Big 12, trying not to see where Texas doesn't have an advantage. So far, I've gone through the offense and special teams. They have the best quarterback room in the Big 12. They have the best wide receiver room in the Big 12. They have the best offensive line room in the Big 12. They have the best, running back room in the Big 12. Special teams, I just gave it to TCU. Texas, you could easily put it number 1. I gave TCU number 1 and put Texas number 2. Texas has the best room at almost every position group in the whole Big 12, and it's really not close at some of these. Some of these have drastic drop-offs. If Texas doesn't make the Big 12 championship game, that is a gigantic indictment on Steve Sarkisian. Like, this roster is ready. It's ready to go 10-2, in my opinion, at minimum. So if they play to their talent, they should go 11-1. But 10-2 for us Texas fans, making a Big 12 championship game is perfectly fine. That's what we expect. And with this talent, that's what should be accomplished.
We could possibly make an argument for Gavin Sawchuk and Javonte Barnes and Marcus Major in that group at Oklahoma at running back.
You could. My issue is I don't think their offensive line is good as Texas. You have to put that into account as well. On the fact that Dylan Gabriel or Quinn Ewers, I think if Quinn Ewers plays to his talent, I don't think that's really even a discussion. And I need to see more out of. I like Javonte Barnes. I will say that. I need to see more out of the other two guys. And I still think there's a little bit more top end talent with Cedric Baxter there and Jaden Blue, who was also a high 4-star recruit when he came out of high school in the Texas room. But yeah, Oklahoma could be up there. They're wide receivers though. Oklahoma's wide receivers, not good at all.
Yeah, they don't have exactly CeeDee Lamb or Hollywood Brown or anything like what they've had in the past at quarterback or run at wide receiver. Matthew joins us each and every Tuesday, folks. You got to lock in on this because I guarantee that most people that are listening right now and will watch this video don't know about Texas Tuesdays. And so Matthew's here every Tuesday night at 7:30 Eastern time for Texas Tuesdays, and Matthew will take all of your shots. So how many Texas fans actually show up for that thing? I would think it's mostly
It is mostly not Texas fans. I get a lot of Michigan, a lot of Ohio State, LSU fans. And by the way, that is going to be a gigantic rivalry in the SEC. We're taking recruits from them, and we might take another one in Dominic McKinley here soon, and they hate us. So that's going to be very interesting in the comments over the next couple of years, what's brewing. They're already coming after me. So it's pretty funny, but come in. I love it. I love the debate. I love to talk about it. Like I said, we've been breaking down the Big 12 rooms. We're still going through the defense. And in 2 weeks, you're going to have my predictions on the Big 12. I'm going to have my top 6 for the college football playoff. You're going to have all that. So please come join us. It's fun to talk with you guys. I love to do a show for you guys. It's awesome.
Yeah, folks, I've not done a good enough job to let all of you know that we got Texas Tuesdays, even though I post it every Tuesday here on Twitter and on the YouTube with the schedule that many of you say that you look forward to each and every morning, where I post the schedule of all our shows for every day. But it's Texas Tuesdays with Matthew right here on the main channel. And so lock it in, be here Tuesdays. And again, if you hate Texas, Matthew doesn't mind. He'll take the shots.
Yeah, come on, McD. I see in the private chat, Texas is the 3rd best team in Texas. Who are the other 2 teams in Texas that are better than us this year? TCU, if you say that, no way, no how. They're winning 7 games this year. So, UTSA, we would wipe the floor with UTSA.
Yeah, I thought maybe he meant the Dallas Cowboys and the Houston Texans.
Hey, the Texans are pretty bad. We might be able to compete.
Might be. Yes, absolutely.
Texas Tech. Hey, I'll take that debate from Spaz. But
yeah, again, Texas Tech. I think that they are an interesting little dark horse team in that conference. No doubt.
They are. I have right now, I've told my audience, I think I have 6 teams that I'm considering for the other spot in the Big 12 championship game. I got Oklahoma. I got Texas Tech. I have, what were the other teams? I have UCF, which is going to surprise some people. I think a really dark horse team, and they may not consider it our dark horse team. I think Kansas has a chance, and I think BYU is another dark horse has a chance. I think those are my 6 teams. I believe I just named 6. Might have been 5, but those are my 5 or 6 teams that I believe can compete for the Big 12 championship game on top of Texas Tech. That's what I didn't say.
No Kansas State?
Kansas State. Thank you. That's the other team I forgot. So those 6 teams I think can compete. UCF, people need to go look at that roster. That roster can win in this Big 12, 100%. They got a shot. I'm a lot higher on them than I would say most people.
And I also think that UCF is the most equipped to win long term. The Big 12.
Yeah, I said that too when people were asking. I think out of the newcomers, I think UCF and Cincinnati long term. If Cincinnati got the right coach, I don't know what the hell they were doing with who they hired this time. But the next guy, when they fire this guy, hopefully they make the right choice. By the way, I was saying for the longest time Cincinnati's the worst team in the Big 12. Iowa State, with the little gambling issues they've got going on, that may have changed because their roster without, I don't know if you saw this too. I'm sure you did, Mark. Jarrell Brock was also caught up in that. They're starting running back. They're not going to have their starting running back and their starting quarterback. And those were their 2 best players left on offense. They're going to be abysmal on offense.
I am going to be posting a video here in the next couple of days looking at possible week 1 upsets. And Northern Iowa is a 23.5 point dog in that game.
Hunter Decker should definitely take that bet because
exactly
that's not going to happen. Northern Iowa will stay within that. Iowa State's going to be. I've said for the longest time I have Texas 1, Cincinnati 14. I don't know how else I'm going to rank them. That's might change. It might be Texas 1, Iowa State 14, Cincinnati 13. It's going to be between those 2. like I said, going through breaking down, I think West Virginia is going to be better than people think, and I think Oklahoma State's going to be worse than people think.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know that Iowa State's going to score 24 points in a football game, let alone cover 24.
Yeah, I don't know either. It's going to be interesting. Unfortunately for Matt Campbell, I think he's there long term. I don't think anyone's taking him out of Ames now.
Yeah, exactly. He hit his window of opportunity, certainly. When is the Rice game?
The Rice game is September. Let's see. I think it's 2nd or 4th. I'm trying to think about
Sure.
that.
It's a Saturday game, but do you know when it's played during the day?
Oh, 2:30.
2:30. 2:30
Yep.
Eastern?
Eastern. Nope, sorry. 3:30 Eastern time, 2:30 Central.
Okay.
I always get it on Bleach Report as 2:30, Central since that's where Texas is. But yeah, 3:30 Eastern time.
So that means about 7 o'clock that night, 7 o'clock Eastern, Matthew will be right here with Texas Rice post game.
Yep, and it will probably be a Texas Rice recap and a little bit of previewing, that team that we get to play week 2. But
absolutely,
definitely be there for that. Hey, if you guys think Texas is going to lose a bunch of games or suck, be there week 2 because I'm sure I'll be here multicasting on Mark Rogers TV, the main channel. You guys can talk all the crap you want if we lose that game, but I think it's going to be a good game.
For sure. Good stuff, Matthew. We appreciate you being here. And again, it's Texas Tuesdays with Matthew at 7:30 Eastern every Tuesday. That makes sense. All right, Matthew. Appreciate it.
Mark.
Have a good night. All right. Yes, Texas Tuesdays with Matthew and Texas postgame, of course. And that's why we're here presenting this special, highlighting all of our postgame offerings here at the Voice of College Football. And before we get to our next guest, that is, as it stands right now, not that we are not considering and hopefully adding more post-game shows, but listen to this. Michigan, Iowa, Nebraska, Penn State, West Virginia, Texas, Oklahoma, Oregon, USC, Alabama, Georgia, Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, Clemson, Miami, Florida State. Am I missing anyone? I don't believe so. Those are all the post-game shows that we are offering at this point, and we may add some. So if you are capable of hosting post-game or know of somebody who is capable, know of a media outlet, somebody that you watch or listen to on a regular basis that you would like to have hosting a post-game show here at the Voice of College Football, let me know. Also, keep in mind, we've got a new SEC channel. Please subscribe to the new SEC channel. I've left the link that's probably buried a zillion times in the chat, but the link is also in the description section of this video, our SEC channel and our Big 12 channel. So especially you Texas fans, you've got no excuse. You have to subscribe both to the Big 12 fan channel and the SEC channel. You got to do both. All right. So we appreciate you being here. And again, SEC channel here at the Voice of College Football. We've already posted a ton of videos. LSU and Alabama, and Auburn, Mississippi State, Tennessee, more and more videos being posted every day on our SEC channel in particular. And again, the Big 12 channel available to all of you as well. Let's talk Canes. Yes, that's who we've got coming up next. We got Traveling Fools. We got Slim Shady. Look at these guys. Well, I guess we can't look at you. You've got your cameras off, but that's okay. Just so we can hear you loud and clear, guys. How we doing tonight? There's Brennan. What's going on, man?
What's going on, Mark? How you doing tonight, man?
I am doing well. Good to see you.
I got my Elvis sunglasses on right here for you.
Nice.
Just ready. I knew you would always appreciate that.
Absolutely. That's a good look. I don't even have a pair like that.
Well, I've got another pair right here. I can give them to you next time I meet you, man. I've got these right here ready for you, man. Authentic Elvis sunglasses just for you.
That'll have to happen at some point. Good deal. Slim Shady, you with us?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm teasing your Oregon cohorts.
Well, that's okay. You guys tease away. You do whatever you want. I say it all the time. Respectful trash talking. I know I sound like a complete moron when I say that. It's a complete oxymoron to say respectful trash talking in the chat. That's what we encourage.
Well, I get it. I mean, they're Oregon fans. what do they have to do other than respectful trash talking?
Is there any other connection except for you took their coach? Is that why they're riled up?
Well, we took their coach, and they come up with every excuse in the world as to why they couldn't possibly be mad about it, but we all know it's not true. And then, well, quite frankly, people have started to make the comparison over the past couple of years and realize just how superior the Miami mascot is to their fake duck.
Yeah, nobody really cares about fake ducks, you know.
I told them, I said, if they want to stand out, they need to go back to that Power Rangers looking mascot they had from the early 2000s, and might punch it up a little bit.
I had somebody explain to me not that long ago, but with my retention issues, it's gone. But I had them explain to me the origin of the Miami Duck mascot because I failed to make that connection of where that came from.
Well, Miami's mascot isn't a duck at all. Now, unfortunately, by how they make those mascot uniforms, there is a similarity. But that's really about it.
What are we looking at there then? When we see the Miami mascot, what are we looking at? I did not expect to be talking about the Miami mascot, but now that we've gone down this path,
Miami's mascot is an ibis.
Yes.
Yeah, Sebastian the ibis, you know.
Okay. All right. Well, how much is Sebastian going to be actually cheering this season?
Well, I imagine a little more than this past season. I don't think that's a far stretch to make that claim.
You guys get the award between the two of you, and of course our guy Alex, who will join both Traveling Fools and Slim Shady on our post-game Miami shows. You guys get the badge of honor for last season.
Oh, it was rough, man. last season was really rough, but we had a lot of fun.
Yeah, you guys did have fun because you guys know how to play with it and say, hey, at this point it's become complete comedy, so we might as well just go with it. Because I remember checking in after one game, it might have been the Florida State game, that would have been apropos, where there was just complete denial, like we didn't even see that game. We're gonna act like everything's great. We just blasted whoever.
Oh, when I reversed the score and started the whole 15 minutes of the show out, like we blew Florida State out, and it was like, this has been the best game that we've played all season. Florida State didn't even know, they're sending smoke signals back home, telling each other. Yeah, that was fun.
Nice. Hopefully you won't have to lower yourself to those kind of tactics this year.
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking our floor this season is 317-0. So I mean that's our floor. So our ceiling, I mean, it's way up here. We're gonna shock the world.
Oh, you gotta love him, right?
Got to. Yes.
I mean, I make no bones about it. I tend to come at it from a much more, what's the PC word?
Cynical?
Realistic expectation standpoint than most of the fan base on the internet. Well, some of them may call it cynical now that you mention it, but, and you've seen it. I've gone back and forth with Cam on this. We disagree on it. Until this program gets some form of consistency, in a coaching staff, any level of consistency, I'm not going to have very, very high expectations. I mean, of course, they're going to be higher than last year because last year was just kind of everything that can go wrong did go wrong. You stacked up so many injuries. The offense was so inept. And, as we ended up seeing with, almost half the roster transferring out, you had a bunch of guys in there that just didn't care. I think that was rock bottom as far as what they can do. I mean, just based off of talent level, they should have a better record than that year in and year out.
You guys are taking all sorts of grief on the mascot and the no home stadium on campus stadium.
Hey, listen. I mean, we're used to taking a bunch of grief by a bunch of haters. I mean, everybody wants to be us secretly. So, you know, I mean, that's what it's used to be. You know, we're used to it.
I'm wondering when that became an argument, because Miami's never had an on-campus stadium. The Orange Bowl was never on campus, but that was our stadium, because that stadium existed almost 40 years before the Dolphins did.
Troy V is having the time of his life, he says. He's got Black Sabbath on in the background and Mark Rogers and guests in the chat. He's loving life.
I like Troy V. Troy V is a cool guy.
Troy V is a cool guy.
Yeah,
He's a
like
faithful supporter, comments all the time, smart football guy, fun guy, says a lot of fun things, a lot of interesting things. And he has somehow put me together with Black Sabbath. That's never been done before.
Good taste in music, though. I'll give him that.
Yeah, I do like Black Sabbath. I think Ozzy Osbourne's solo career kind of went down the hill, but in Black Sabbath, that's good stuff right there.
All right.
So we're definitely looking forward to. Alex wanted me to let you know he wished he could be here, but he was out hanging out with his brother tonight and helping him move. And they're I think in Fort Lauderdale, and he was like, he called me and said, "Man, we're going out to have fun." And I told him, I said, "Alex, you go have a good time, man. Slim and I'll take care of this." So
yeah,
he is looking forward to coming in though, coming in and doing these games.
I don't know that Alex would have gotten a word in edgewise with you two anyway.
Well, he does like to scream. You know, he does like to scream and yell sometimes, and you know, he's known for his good post game reactions, especially when we lose. So
I would have to say that I tried to check in with everyone for however long, 10, 15 plus minutes, and there were several times when I checked in, and of course it was a rough season, so wasn't like Alex didn't have justification for it, but you could tell by the look on that face and the comments coming out of he takes those losses hard.
Oh yeah. He's driving down the road, punching the ceiling of his car, screaming obscenities. Yeah, it's
Well, me and Traveling Fools had the I guess we'll call it the advantage of being able to watch last season from the comfort of our living room with your favorite beverage. He had to watch it from the fourth row.
Right. Yeah. I felt kind of sorry for him. A lot of those games, especially after the what was it? The Middle Tennessee, wasn't it? He was so devastated after that game. That was funny.
Well, he was, but you have to find the silver lining in everything. And it's like I told him at the time, okay, Middle Tennessee, Sun Belt team, hooray. All right, yeah, we lost. It's great for trash talk on the internet. But, I mean, at least we don't have Florida and Florida State problems of losing to FCS schools.
That is a fact.
The silky smooth tones, TF, are starting to soak in to the audience. You're starting to get some fine comments there in the chat. Yeah. Yeah, folks, if I had that voice, we'd probably double our subscribers.
Either that or they'd all run away. One or the other. One or the other. But yeah, Joey wants to know if we can play some oldies, you know. Yeah, next up we've got Sonny and Cher coming in for Joey Foster. I got you, babe. I do appreciate it, Joey.
Followed up by some Blue Oyster Cult.
Right, there we go. Yeah, that would be good times. Now, Mark, we do really look forward to doing this again this season. It's going to be a lot of fun. Like I told you before, I'll probably miss the 2 games there, the second and third game, but hopefully I can call in and make something happen.
Okay.
Join in with the fun.
Especially after we get that win against Texas A&M. That'll be a good time to go ahead and call in. Make your presence known. I think
well, that's probably one of our easiest wins of the season, I would think. I mean, after we go and we like just, or, we show up and Clemson comes down to town and we just totally curb stomp Clemson. And then we go down there to, go to FSU's house and we just totally rip them apart as well. I mean, we're going to be off too. I'm predicting a Miami dominating over USC in the national championship this year. So take it to the bank, folks. Take it to the bank.
You haven't even waited for them to lose a game, TF, for you to go into your fake post-game mode.
I hate delusional fans. And, Miami does have some delusional fans, and I can't stand them. So I like to at least be, kind of grounded and kind of, try to keep everybody, in a grounded level. So, that's kind of my job here.
All right, Slim Shady, appreciate you doing this for a second consecutive year. Traveling Fools, we appreciate you and all that you do here at the Voice of College Football and supporting us all the time and making sure that we've got Miami post game for everyone.
Hey, man, thank you very much.
And we also have to remind everyone that game number 1's on a Friday night, so no excuses, folks. There basically will be no other football going on for the most part. So Friday night after the Titanic Miami versus Miami showdown, Ohio versus Florida, the mighty Red Hawks and the Hurricanes get together. It's going to be post game with these guys.
Yeah,
it's going to be a lot of fun.
It's time to finally put this question to bed on who the real Miami is, and I think we all know how that's going to turn out.
Yeah, what is that game? It's September 1st, so make sure you tune in afterwards. Be there or be dead, because it's gonna be quite the smack talk. We're gonna smack talk that fake Miami down just like we do the fake Ducks. Are you bringing on the fake Ducks next, Mark?
We can do that. We've got another fake one in the background here. Backstage.
Yeah, make sure you bring on that Ben guy. He's the fake Duck, so bring on that Ben guy. All right, Mark. Appreciate you, brother.
Playing me against my other guys here. Can't do that to the family. All right. We also want to make sure everybody knows where Traveling Fools is. So, what do you got going on, and where can people find you?
Man, we got all kinds of craziness going on. Just anytime, Traveling Fools. You can type in Traveling Fools. We'll come up on there. Sub us up. Hit us up on Twitter. Hit us up on YouTube here. We do all kinds of good, fun stuff. Lots of late night streams, trivia. Tony Altamore helps me do trivia. And sometimes Tim Prangley as well. We have a good time on here, so hit us up. And make sure you do tune into the post-game shows, because between Slim, Alex, and I, we do make it a good time, win, lose, or draw. It's always a good time with us.
Yeah,
we have fun.
Tells me I wouldn't want to play trivia with Tony because I don't like to lose.
Yeah, well, he's a tough opponent, but it's fun. That's why I brought him in to help me host trivia instead of playing against him, because we got tired of butting heads. So,
All right, guys. We appreciate it. Have a good night.
All right. See you later, Mark. Thanks a lot, buddy.
That's Traveling Fools. You can find him right here on YouTube, and it's Slim Shady Canes along with our guy Alex. They'll be, for a second consecutive year, hosting our Miami post game here at the Voice of College Football. And again, remember, opening night is on a Friday. Miami of Florida hosting Miami of Ohio. How about that? The Canes and the Red Hawks. That just speaks of college football. Just reeks of college football tradition right there. So catch the Miami post game after the Canes each and every week. All right. Like we've not heard enough about the Ducks tonight. Look out. There he is.
Don't
up our yes.
Don't compare Miami with the Ducks. The Ducks are the sexiest ducks. The other ones are those lame looking creatures that just hang out in the water. I'm coming for you, TF. Don't worry. Go Red Hawks.
Okay, Ben.
Nah. TF will text me later and be like,
That's a nice little atmosphere you got working with the green walls, with the green lighting.
Some of us have class, Mark. I could help you out here. You do have a nice, sexy Oregon helmet back there. I will say that.
Yes.
There we go.
We've got the Ducks repped. You know, we could obviously buy about 48 of these or however many helmet designs they have, but this is the only one we've got.
I also love how it was on the shelf. They look big, and then you pick them up, and everyone's like, "Wait, they're handheld." They look big on the shelf, you know.
Yeah, sometimes people ask me that. Are those full size helmets? Yeah, they're like 100 feet behind me. Sure.
Nah, I love TF and the Miami show. It's great, especially after like the Middle Tennessee game. I love watching their reactions. Guys, keep it real. You know?
Yeah, we can
it always
only
sucks to
hope,
lose.
for entertainment purposes, we can only hope that we'll get similar results this year and have to watch those guys after another slew of losses.
Well, I guess I won't go into too much unless you want to much because I know Sean/Spaz was on earlier. I was out at a tiki bar, so a little change of plans tonight. Ended up being a little later than I was hoping to be.
We
So
know where your priorities are, Ben.
It's Sam's fault. It's not mine. It was him and his coworkers, not mine.
Okay.
So I won't take a whole lot of time here, but what do you have questions about, Mark? If anything specific to me, otherwise I'll just promote the things we got coming up.
That's why we're here. Promotion. It's all about promotion. We really provide very little football content here. We just promote constantly. That's all we do.
Then why is it the voice of college football? I don't understand. I'm confused now.
It's heavy dose of sarcasm. Actually, we don't promote enough here. I'm not a very good marketer. We talk too much football. But yes, Oregon post game here after every Ducks game, and week 2's in Lubbock against Texas Tech, and I know you're going to be there for that one.
Yes, I'll be there, as well as mentioned below, Derek. He will be there also. So we will be trying to do something maybe halftime during the game, as well as, of course, the post game. We'll see how that all plays out, of course, because if we're at the stadium, we have to kind of deal with that potential dilemma of traffic, signal, et cetera. So we're going to make it work, though, and I think it'll be fun. I expect a really good one with Texas Tech.
And so, again, everyone, it's Ben, Sean, and Derek after every Oregon game, but also we've got an Oregon Ducks live show coming your way each and every week. Time and day to be announced.
Exactly. We discussed the date the other day with you, Mark, but we're going to confirm that day and time here within hopefully the next 2 or 3 days to start before week 1, before the ultimate challenge against the Portland State Vikings.
Yes, the Vikings of Portland State. Yes, quite a challenge.
Poor Portland State.
Oh. All right.
Hopefully.
Ben, sorry to mess up your green decor with our ugly red banners, but that is one of the main colors here at the Voice of College Football.
That's your primary color. That's fine. But also, I just wanted to promote too for you, because not just the Oregon show and the postgame show, as noted on your channel update, this Sunday we will be back live with the College Football After Dark. This Sunday, 10 Eastern, every week. So make sure to tune in for that, for the panel, as well as to ask your questions in the chat. It's always fun. We appreciate any trash talking. Civilized trash talking, I think it wasn't civilized trash talking. How did you say it, Mark?
I call it respectful trash talking.
Okay, respectful, civilized trash talking. We can go with either one of those. We always respect that, because we know we have some people in there who we're gonna dunk on their teams a little bit. They're not gonna like it.
That's why we keep score.
It happens. Hey, if the Ducks lose, I have to take it. I mean, we have to own it. So
that's right. I actually have extended family members who don't like to keep score when we get together at holidays and other get-togethers and play games. And I'm like, are you kidding me? We're playing a game. You keep score. Otherwise, why am I here?
It's true. There's got to be an equal sense of friendly and mutual competition, and a little bit of trash talk. There has to be. I mean, that's what competition is for.
What's going on with your channel these days?
We're working on some new stuff. I mean, not new stuff isn't different, just some big I don't want to say changes, but a potential big event for the channel, the personal channel outside the football realm. Yeah, potentially early to mid-September. Hopefully we're going to see an explosion on that channel, hopefully. Best case scenario. Worst case scenario, nothing changes. So we're still filming. We're still traveling.
Well, Ben, for those people that are not familiar, let everyone know where they can find your channel and what you guys do.
Yeah, I mean, so my primary channel that I have outside of course, the football realm is urban exploring, abandoned places, haunted, travel, just new experiences in general. That's what we do. We travel, we film it, and we just show you how it is. So we're here on YouTube, Exploring with Ben and Sam. I dropped the link in the chat, or you can easily join in the post-game show, the weekly Oregon show, or the College Football After Dark, and find me there, and we will also be promoted there. So you can, if that's your thing, you can check it out. If you like it, subscribe. If you don't, that's cool. It's not for everyone. I mean, we're kind of a niche audience, and that's fine. It's just stuff we enjoy to do.
Very cool. Well, Ben, appreciate you being here. And again, the look of you in your Oregon shirt against the green background, the green lighting, it's just it's going to be an enjoyable post-game look. That's a good look you came up with there.
Hopefully,
just drowned everything in duck green.
You got to do it. I mean, you can't go half-ass, Mark. little dig there, little dig at Mark there.
Little dig here, huh?
Mark's like, you're done. You're fired. Get out of here.
No, this thing wasn't cheap, you know.
Oh, I know. Banners are not. They're not cheap. They can be pretty expensive. I know.
All right, Ben. Appreciate you being here, man.
Appreciate it. And see you guys hopefully in the chat Sunday night for College Football After Dark, 10 p.m. Eastern. And we're going to talk week 0.
Nice. Looking forward to it. See you, Ben.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Any more hosts out there that we need to hit on? I don't believe so. So let's get to the calls. We've got McD. He's been so patient. McD Sports, what's going on?
Hey, Mark, how are you doing?
I am doing just fine. So just want to let everyone know the first and foremost reason we were here tonight, we just wanted to highlight all of our post-game shows, and that's only some of them. And if you could, McD, turn the volume down in the background. I'm hearing myself on the reverb.
Hold on. Good now?
I believe so.
Okay.
No, we're not.
But not?
I keep hearing it. Does everybody else hear that too? Probably. All right, McD. Do what you can and hit me with your first question or comment.
So, Mark, I realized that I have not given my official mail-in prediction yet. So I thought I'll give that to you.
Drum roll, please.
We're gonna go game by game, Mark.
Oh, game by game. All right. Let's let me grab the schedule here, because this will be a treat. We got McD's Maryland game by game, and I kind of gave up on that. Unfortunately, it was my goal to get to every team, and then so much happened in college football. It's just not going to happen. I've got to deliver my picks here soon on the season, but let's bring up the Maryland schedule. And there we are, starting with the mighty Tigers of Towson.
All right, so I can say something about this game if I wanted to, but I'm gonna keep it clean, Mark, since it's your channel. But Maryland should beat Towson pretty convincingly.
Okay, give me an example. What would you possibly say about this game that would be just so horrific?
It's an in-state game. Towson is in Maryland, so it's an FCS school in the Baltimore area. The Maryland's more in the DC area. It's a division. It's a Towson is a school that a lot of people that can't get into Maryland go to. So it's kind of like an in-state rivalry, but not really. So, but Maryland has a much better talent. They should win this game pretty easily. I think last time we played Towson, it was like 63-14, something like that.
Are we getting scores with these as well?
And you know what? I think I should. I'll go there. I'll go that far. I wasn't planning on it, but I'll come up with scores on the fly.
All right. Towson, what's your game score?
I'll go ahead and say 63-14.
All right. The Terps can't hold down Towson enough to keep him out of the end zone twice. Okay. Got it.
Second game of the season on the big NBC network. Game of the night, bigger than a game on ABC at that same time slot. You got the Maryland Terps hosting the Charlotte 49ers. Last year, these two teams played each other. Maryland won in blowout fashion. I forget the score. I know Charlotte got to 21-14 at one point. Maryland was only up by a touchdown early in the second quarter. I think Maryland takes care of business and wins this game 55-7.
All right. So the mighty Terps off to a impressive 2-0 start with two enormous blowout wins. Virginia comes to town.
So Friday night game on FS1 at 7 p.m. A little old school ACC action. Virginia's terrible. I think I'm going to be right about the Tony Elliott hire, saying it was a bad hire. That trend continues. Maryland is the much better team. I like Maryland to win this game. I'm going to go 48-17 Terps.
Okay, Terps win by 31, and at this point of the season, they might have the best point differential in all of college football.
We kick off Big Ten play on the road on NBC 3:30 national televised game on the road against a Michigan State team that is searching for answers after, in my opinion, a fluke 2021 season. This game is going to be close, but at the end, the better team is the Maryland Terps. They go on the road into East Lansing, a team that's going to be running out a new quarterback, a team that's defense cannot stop a nosebleed in the passing game, and is going to struggle this year stopping the running game. I like the Maryland Terps to win a hard-fought 27-20 win over the Michigan State Spartans.
And we've got a few people in the chat still wondering why Charlotte and Maryland are playing on NBC. And I found this out several weeks ago, and I had the same reaction. It's quite interesting.
The Big Ten slate is weak in some weeks. That's why. So where are we? Week 5. The 4-0 Terps come back to College Park to host Indiana, and what's most likely Tom Allen's last year as head coach, since I do think Indiana is going to be terrible this year. The Big Ten Network says they're terrible. They won't even talk about their practices on the Big Ten bus tour. I like Maryland to absolutely take care of business and finally blow out Indiana. I mean, it seems like we always play kind of close against Indiana. Maryland's miles ahead. They're miles ahead. I like Maryland to win this game. I'm going to go with a score of 45-20 over the Indiana Hoosiers.
So the mighty Terps at this point are what? 5-0?
5-0.
All right. Then this next game's certainly a cakewalk.
Well, I'll tell you this, Mark.
Oh, 6-0.
Nope.
We don't even need to talk about this next one.
No. We got to talk about it. the 5-0 Terps, most likely ranked, going into Columbus, Ohio, against an Ohio State team that they actually played pretty well against last year. I mean, if you
They
watched
did?
that game,
Oh yeah.
I know it was a 2-possession score at the end. That was because there was a pick six in the last 15 seconds of the game when Maryland was trying to drive down the field there.
I tend to watch some of these games. Yeah, I saw it.
So, and out of the big three, Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, I actually do think the best shot the Terps will have against any of those three teams is Ohio State, because line of scrimmage play. The big weakness for Maryland is line of scrimmage play. With that being said, I expect the Maryland Terps to lose this game on the road against the Ohio State Buckeyes.
No, come on. Couldn't pull the trigger on the upset.
No, there's no way in the world pulling the trigger on that.
Okay.
Now, I will say this. Last year's game gave me some hope that we could at least be competitive with them. I know it's in Columbus. I think this game, I'm going to go Buckeyes 42, Terps 24. 42-24, maybe. I think the Buckeyes pull away some in the second half. So now we're 5-1, coming home for homecoming against the Illinois team that I think a lot of people are sleeping on. And I'm going to circle back to this game a few games down the road here.
But, we're going to get double analysis on the Illinois-Maryland game.
Well, you'll see how I'll circle back on it.
Okay.
You'll see how I'll circle back on it.
All right. Are you going to analyze the bye week for us?
No.
Okay.
No. But I'll go in order, and then I'll tell you what, and then you'll see how I'm going to circle back on it, because it's only going to be one little comment on it. But I think Maryland pulls off the win here. Now, I do think Illinois should be favored in this game. I do. I think Illinois' line of scrimmage play is miles ahead, better than Maryland. I think Brett Bierma is going to go. I think he's pretty good. Brett Bierma. I think he's better than Loxley. I hate to say it, but I think he is.
At your coach.
But Maryland at home.
I'm the one that's supposed to do that.
Well, Mark, I keep it honest, Mark. I keep it honest. I try to look for an out, but I keep it honest. But you look at this game, I do think Illinois should be favored by about 2 to 3 points. But I'm going to pick the Terps because it's at home, and I know, say what you want about College Park. I know a lot of visiting crowds tend to fill up that stadium, like Ohio State, Penn State, especially Penn State and Michigan. That's not going to happen in this game. It's homecoming. It's going to be a Maryland crowd. I think the crowd behind this team, they pull off possibly a mild upset and a low-scoring 23-20 win at home against the Fighting Illini.
So one of the big keys to this game is going to be Illinois working on their signals all week, preparing for the deafening crowd in College Park.
I think it's going to be one of the better crowds of the season since it's homecoming.
Okay.
And it's not going to be a bunch of Illinois fans there. I mean, I don't know any Illinois fans that live in Maryland. So then we have our bye week. One announced that.
Because you personally don't know any Illinois fans there in Maryland, you're not counting on anyone to show up at the game.
Oh, there'll be a few Illinois fans, but it won't be like a Penn State game in College Park or Ohio State game. It won't be 50-50 or even a little more than that. Okay. It won't even be like, at most, it'll be like 90-10 Terps.
Okay. 6-1.
6-1. Bye week. I don't care. Next game, on the road against a team that has a scandal in Northwestern, a team that I think is going to probably be fighting for the worst team in the Big Ten. Even though it's at Ryan Field in Evanston, Illinois, I like the Terps to win this game. I'm going to go with a score of 34-13 over Northwestern.
Okay.
I don't think I need to spend much time on this game. I think
no, you don't.
Next game, at home against a Penn State team. Quite frankly, I'm just gonna come out and say it. We're gonna lose to Penn State. I refuse to pick us to to
Or
pick
quite
Penn State.
Franklin, maybe.
I absolutely refuse to pick Maryland to beat Penn State because outside of the COVID year, when has it happened since James Franklin has been there? You look at this game, it's going to be more Penn State fans there. I mean, I think Penn State's going to be pretty good this year. I don't think they're going to make the Big Ten championship game or anything, but I do think that they're going to be probably a 10-win team, probably same as last year. Maryland will not get shut out, but they will lose this game. I'm going with a score of 38-17 Penn State. I think this game could get a little bit ugly, if you want my honest opinion.
Okay.
So
Well, you're
next,
disappointing me somewhat against the big boys with an 18-point loss in Columbus and now a 21-point
21.
loss. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just going to be honest with you, Mark. I don't think we can compete against the big boys this year. I just don't.
All right.
I don't think the line scrimmage play is there.
You know, I asked your guy, Mike Loxley, about that at Big Ten Media Days.
I saw.
That was my question about competing at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah. Anything he told you positive is not true. I'm just being honest with that. Next game, and this is where I'm going to circle back to the Illinois game.
Okay.
Maryland is going to split between Illinois and Nebraska. I picked Maryland to beat Illinois because they're at home. I'm going to say Maryland loses to Nebraska on the road. It's a tough place to play.
Ooh.
Say what you want about, it's Nebraska. They haven't made a bowl game since 2016. Do I think Nebraska is going to make a bowl game this year? No.
They're
But
going
every
to
year-
beat Maryland and still miss a bowl game.
Yep.
Okay.
I do. I'll say this. Do I think Matt Rule is an excellent hire? Yes. It's going to take a year. And every year a team loses a game that they're not supposed to lose. This is the game for Maryland. They go ahead, lose a tough shootout game. I'm going 41-36 Nebraska in this one. It's going to be a shootout. And I just think at the end of the day, I just think Maryland's going to find a way to lose this game against Nebraska.
All right.
I
Talia
don't have a
throws
good
5 touchdowns and they get a 2-point conversion and score 36 points. There's been much thought put into this. 41-36, Nebraska wins over Maryland. Okay. The season is coming unraveled.
So, next game at home against Michigan.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh's right. This game's going to be ugly. I have Michigan winning the whole thing this year. National championship and everything. I think Michigan goes ahead. I do think Maryland could score some points in this game. I do think that only because I do think that the whole look ahead spot, I'll buy into that a little bit. Last time Michigan played Maryland in this spot, they blew them out like 59-18. It won't be that bad, but I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take Michigan to win this game 34-15.
34-15 Michigan. So
Yep.
another loss, 3 consecutive for the Terps, who at 7-1 probably be in the top 15 in the country.
They won't be. I wouldn't put them in the top 15 with that schedule at 7-1.
I think they'd be close to it.
Maybe
Okay.
close.
Anyway, 7-4 at this point.
Final game of the season on the road against a Rutgers team for the first time since joining the Big Ten. They were earned making a bowl game. One of my bold predictions in the Big Ten this year is that Rutgers makes a bowl game. Rutgers will already have 6 wins. Maryland goes into Rutgers and beats Rutgers. In my opinion, this game is going to be competitive. Rutgers, as I said, they're going to have a good team. Not a good team so much. I just think Rutgers is better than Michigan State and Indiana. They get Northwestern out of the West. That's their 3rd Big Ten win. All I need them to do is beat Virginia Tech at home, a game which I think they'll be favored in. They'll get the 6 wins, in my opinion.
Okay.
You look at this game. I have Maryland winning the game. I'm going with a score of 41-30 over Rutgers, an 11-point win. Maryland might pull away a little bit there in the 4th quarter because Maryland is more talented, but if you look at the recruiting classes for Rutgers, they've been top 30-ish for a few years. In the top 40, and Rutgers beat us recruiting wise one year. Like, and Maryland had like the 5th recruiting class, and Rutgers had like the 31st, if I'm not mistaken. The recruiting classes for Rutgers are not bad. They haven't been terrible.
The 23 class is 59. The 22 class,
I know there's a 30 something in there.
33. The 21 class, 42. And the 2020 class was number 57. So 57, 42, 33, and what was the other one? 54?
59.
59. So, yeah, 68 in 2019 for whatever players are still left over from the 2019 class at number 68.
They're recruiting better. They're recruiting better. You got to think they're going to hit with some of those recruits. The schedule plays in their favor. I just think they make a bowl game. So,
all right. Well,
but Maryland's better than them. So.
I'm not too encouraged by giving up 31 points to Rutgers if I'm Maryland.
Well, line of scrimmage is the big weakness, and it's going to cost Maryland so many times this year. But besides that, 8-4 is my record prediction. We'll see who we get in the bowl game. So,
all right, McD.
That's the just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, you gave us our fill of Maryland football tonight.
I'll be honest with you, Mark. I lean more towards 7-5 than 9-3. I'll be honest with you.
I would agree. Yep.
But I'm gonna hold out hope. We do have, in my opinion, one of the best quarterbacks in the Big Ten. And we're still great on the outside positions, wide receiver, running back. Secondary is pretty good. So
all right,
I think it's gonna be a fun season. Well, thanks for
appreciate you being here.
Through that.
We will certainly keep you updated whether we make our decision to have that Maryland Charlotte watch party.
I don't expect that.
Okay.
No, right. I'll be honest with you, Mark. When I saw that as the NBC game, I laughed out loud.
Yeah, I don't think they laughed out loud.
No, I think Charlotte's happy. I'll admit, I like their head coach. I mean, he went on the podium and said, basically, and told the media, "Screw you guys," basically.
Yeah, well, Charlotte, shoot, this is, if they can keep that relatively close, is going to be the best pub that they've had ever in their football history.
They won't.
All right, McD.
Have a good night.
You too. All right, let's keep it moving here at the Voice of College Football. We've got Nick says, do you all think Penn State has a realistic shot at making the playoff? Yes. I'm not buying it. I only see them getting the playoff if there's a three-way tie in the Big Ten East. Okay. That, in some sense, unless I'm reading that wrong, doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense. You don't think that they have a realistic shot at the playoff, but you see them getting to the playoff if there's a three-way tie. Okay. All right. Let's keep it moving here at the Voice of College Football. We've got our guy Hunter on the line. Hunter, how you doing?
I'm good, Mark. How are you doing?
I am doing just fine.
Good.
What's up?
So we got an interesting situation this year.
Okay.
I've got two of my favorite teams in my playoffs. And here's
I know that's Alabama and Florida State. Who is your other favorite team?
That's it. I got those.
I thought you said you had three favorite teams.
No,
okay.
No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
No. I got those two teams in the playoff. Do you think I'm crazy for that?
What I think is that Alabama is going to be a force to be reckoned with, as usual. man, I'm going to be so interested to see how this quarterback situation plays out, because I do expect the wide receivers to play better than they have the last couple of years. I'm hearing good things out of the wide receiver room from fall camp. And the offensive line is, of course, going to be good. You know, all this analysis has to be taken into light of Alabama's standards. But they don't have much experience along the offensive line at all. They have like 40 some starts coming back, which is a low number. And then again, at quarterback, who's going to be the guy? And
But
I think,
remember, Mark,
yes,
we won a national championship with Jake Coker.
you did.
And, you know, there's no disrespect to Jake Coker, because I'm glad that he was our guy, and we
Well,
won that
Jake
year.
Coker just came off a season in which he almost won the Florida State starting job over Jameis Winston. So at that point in his career, I don't know what happened after Alabama and why he couldn't at least hold a clipboard in the NFL. But he was extremely well thought of at the time. These guys aren't.
Well,
Except
here's the thing.
maybe Ty Simpson is.
Here's the thing. I think a lot of people have misconceptions about Jalen Milroe.
Okay.
And let me tell you why. He got thrown into 2 games, which were very difficult games to be just thrown into.
Sure.
A&M's a tough opponent. They're a very physical team. He won
Not to interrupt, real quick, Hunter, just to define being thrown in. He was thrown in against Arkansas when Bryce Young got hurt. He wasn't thrown in against Texas A&M. He prepared the entire week.
Yeah. But
He's
what I'm
the
saying,
backup quarterback.
Yeah.
So he should be ready to go.
Yeah. What I'm saying is, he was put in a scenario where he had to start on a week and against an opponent that is a very tough opponent for somebody taking their true first start as a quarterback. That was his first full start. Was that A&M game?
Yeah, I'm just pointing out that you're right. That's a difficult position, but at some point, every quarterback has to make that jump. And he at least played the fourth quarter against Arkansas on the road. And then, knowing the circumstances surrounding Bryce Young, he knew immediately that he was the guy and was going to have the entire week to prepare for Texas A&M.
Yeah, and I went back and watched those games.
Yeah.
To kind of see if maybe we were being a little too harsh on him.
Yeah.
And I concluded that we were being a little too harsh.
Okay.
If you go back and look, he made some bad decisions, but the plays that he made were very good. He can take off, he can run, and he can be accurate with the ball. I think it's about consistency with him. I don't think Nick Saban has a distrust in his ability. I think he has a distrust in maybe his consistency of play. And I think that'll come in time. I think he starts against Middle Tennessee State. We'll see if he can be consistent in that game. And if he is consistent in that game, I think he will start against Texas. I've not sold my Jalen Milroe stock yet. And I still believe him. But that being said, I think Ty Simpson is going to be the starter at some point. If it's not this year, it'll definitely be next year. I think he's a capable player. I think Dylan Lonergan is a guy that's going to have to contend with. He could be the backup. Really, I really think that. I think whoever takes his starting job, Lonergan has shown. The coaches really like him. I was hearing some reports from last week about his performance in the scrimmage, and we'll see tomorrow after tomorrow's scrimmage. So there's some hope there. I think you're right. I think that the wide receiver position is going to be a lot better this year than it has been. Now I'm diehard Alabama fan, so I'm always going to be biased in saying that they're going to make it. But in regards to Florida State, I think if Florida State beats LSU, the only other game that I see them really losing is maybe to Clemson. And if they can beat one of those two teams and not drop another game, they could be right there in the playoffs.
Okay. So you and I both know that there are going to be games lost this season in college football that we don't anticipate. So
correct.
We see all these prognostications from everyone, and I will be the next one in line to make my predictions and run through the games. And usually there's some level of safe predictions about who different teams are going to lose to. But without looking at the Florida State schedule, I don't have it right in front of me. They've got a trip to Pitt in November. That's going to be a tricky game, possibly. I'm trying to think who else could possibly trip them up. I'm sure there's somebody else in there that I would have some thoughts about them possibly losing to, whether that's Duke. I know they don't play NC State this year. Those would be the two other games that that sounds like a good video
You got
here.
Duke, and then you have Pitt, and then you have Miami, and then Florida. I mean,
Florida.
Yeah, you're right. But if they can be, I think this Florida State team is going to be a really good team. I think they got a good quarterback with Jordan Travis, and I think they got some wide receiver help. I'm just really high on this Florida State team. I think they're going to be they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. Maybe they lose a game or two that we don't anticipate due to a close game, but without knowing which games are going to be like that. I mean, I don't see them on their schedule. I only see three legitimate potential losses, which is LSU, Clemson, and Florida.
Well, I just pointed out two other ones.
Yeah, but I'm saying those are ones without knowing, the weeks and the games that are not going to pan out exactly like we thought we were going to. They were going to, looking ahead to the season.
Yeah, as it stands right now, there's only two games on the schedule in which the point spread is going to be close.
Yes.
They're going to be a substantial favorite against everybody else unless things change pretty dramatically.
But I think, I mean, I like it. Everybody's kind of counting Alabama out, and that's a very dangerous game to play. I've seen a lot of people this offseason talk about how the dynasty's over, Nick Saban's lost his stride, that kind of talk. And, I know what these Alabama teams have done in the past when they felt like they were the underdog.
True. And yes, I think a lot of people look at the dominance of Georgia. They look at it that LSU beat them last year, and they're looking at the quarterback situation and thinking that this could be a rough season, quote unquote, rough season for Alabama, 10-2 rough season.
We got a favorable schedule. We play all our tough games at home, really. Except for Auburn. We played them at Jordan, but
LSU. When you talk about disrespect or being overlooked, they are number 3 in the coaches poll and number 4 in the AP poll. So,
well, I'm talking about the chatter in the
yes, I know.
Yeah, but another question I have for you, and I want to get your kind of take on this. With all of this that's going on, with the way the college football is going, with all this realignment and things like that, how do you see this long term panning out? Because I genuinely feel like this is bad for the sport, and I think all of this realignment and everything, I think I just think it's bad for the sport. I just don't really know how this plan's going to land.
Yeah, at one point I thought it was going to land with the SEC and the Big Ten counter punching each other, and then at the point in which they both surveyed the field and saw that there were no other valuable commodities to scoop up, then that's where it would settle. And that might well turn out to be the case. We still have Florida State, Clemson, and Miami, and to a lesser degree, North Carolina is really the only 4 commodities left on the map that are, and Notre Dame, that move the needle at all. And of course, Clemson, Florida State to a huge degree, in Miami, North Carolina less, and Notre Dame in a huge way. So there's only 4 or 5 schools left. And then some schools may come with them as kind of a package deal. I could see that, North Carolina State and others. But yeah, there's been so many moves made that we're down to about 4 or 5 schools that move the needle in football and in money that will be either attractive to the Big Ten or the SEC, or there will be some kind of battle between the SEC and the Big Ten for those schools. And then after that shakes out, in terms of anything that needs to be decided that's going to impact a national championship, I think we'll be at a settling place. But then we'll see if the ACC survives and how it survives. If it no longer has, let's say, those 4 schools, is the rest of the ACC going to survive with 10 teams and then maybe going after a Memphis or a Tulane or a South Florida to try to solidify their conference and stay alive as a Power 5 conference? And will the Big 12 go after these basketball schools? One of them that plays football, thinking of Gonzaga and Connecticut. That's where I think we're going to come to some kind of landing spot.
Yeah, Mark, I've always said this before. All of this started happening, and I still kind of feel like this. I've always felt that Florida State should be in the SEC, just because of where they are geographically.
Yeah.
I've always said that before any of this started happening. So if I seen like you're talking about, I would think the most logical sense will be for the SEC to pick up Florida State and for Clemson to go to the Big Ten. If that sort of a thing was going to happen, I think that makes the most sense.
Yeah, Florida State geographically, and then also just from the standpoint of the brand, and they certainly have much greater and more played series against SEC schools. They don't play anybody in the Big Ten unless they meet them in postseason play once every 10 years. Other than that, they don't schedule any Big Ten teams. And they've played Alabama, and they've played, they played Alabama, twice since Saban's been there.
And that game in 2017 was a very hyped up game.
Yes, 1 versus 3.
Yeah, and I grew up. I lived right on the Alabama-Florida border, and I actually went to high school in Florida. And just about all of my friends were Florida State fans. And when that Alabama 2017, when Alabama faced off against Florida State, that was a big game, in the Southeast.
Yeah, they played Ole Miss about 5 years ago. They've got this home and home series with LSU. I believe they've got a home and home coming up in about, 5 to 10 years against Georgia. Like, they've played these games, and for obvious reasons, they're more apt to schedule those than it's been forever since they scheduled a Big Ten game. So yeah, they have always felt to me like a SEC school and an SEC brand, because since they came to national prominence around 1980, them playing once they join the ACC, and because there's only a couple schools that can play with them on a regular basis, and I know that they were down and people will make that comment, but I'm talking about in general, having a schedule loaded with Boston College and Louisville and Syracuse and Georgia Tech and Duke doesn't really seem, those games get ignored that Florida State plays on a national level. People aren't talking about those games. But if they were playing in the SEC Eastern Division and running into Georgia, Tennessee, South Carolina, Florida as a conference game on a regular basis, yeah, that would be a game changer for them. So I see both of those schools from a football standpoint as SEC teams.
Yeah. Yeah. One more thing before I let you go. I don't keep up with Ohio State football very much. Where do you think y'all go at the quarterback position?
In terms of who's going to be chosen as the starter?
Yeah.
Well, that's the great debate going on. Ryan Day made a comment the other day that he's going to announce this very soon, that he wants to go into the final week of practice with everyone knowing who the starting quarterback is going to be, and for that guy to get 70% of the reps. So we're going to find out very soon. Now, fans have their opinions, and I don't know what they're based on because nobody's seen these guys play. Devin Brown is the guy who was the underdog in this competition, but he is the more athletic quarterback. So if you take that into consideration, Kyle McCord's going to have to be a much better decision maker and a much better passer of the football to hold off Devin Brown. He's had a lot more time in the system as well. My money's on Kyle McCord. Not that I would put any money on it because I'm not there at practice to see. But I'll go 75-25 Kyle McCord and 25% on Devin Brown.
Do you think that Ohio State makes the playoff this year?
Well, I haven't made my predictions yet. I think that they're probably one of the 4 best teams in the country.
Yeah, and I think y'all have, from what I've heard, a little bit that I've heard, I think everybody in the Ohio State circles are pretty competent in y'all's new defensive coordinator.
Well, he's not a new defensive coordinator. This
Yeah,
is
he was there
the
last
second
year,
season.
right? Yeah.
And statistically, it was a success, but in reality, it was not a success.
Yeah, and another thing that's got me kind of excited about this, kind of shifting gears here, but since we're talking about defensive coordinators, about Alabama in regards to our defense, I thought that Pete Golding's system was, his schematically might have been, and maybe the terminology was too difficult. At times it seemed like he was trying to be very, very technical, I guess. I don't know what the right word is to describe it, but I think that Kevin Steele is going to simplify this defense enough to where these kids can grab it and they know exactly what to do. And I thought that Pete's system was just a little bit too complicated. I think that's why we didn't perform as well as we probably thought we should have at times.
Yeah, I'm going to have to give that LSU at Alabama game some thought in terms of what I see playing out there, because it most likely will decide that division.
Yeah, I mean, hats off to LSU and what they've been able to do. A lot of people thought that was such a bad hire by Brian Kelly. I was the whole time saying that was a home run hire. He's won everywhere he's been. He did a great job at Notre Dame. I thought that, in my opinion, that was a home run hire, and I think that's the best guy that they could have gotten at the time.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
spend a lot of my time, it seems, defending Brian Kelly, and I don't really completely understand why.
well, because people, a lot of people just don't look at things, you know, objectively, and
Well, I
last year.
think we've got a gold medal mentality in the society. So if you have not won a national championship, so I think generally people consider the coaches that have won national championships are automatically better than all the coaches that have not won national championships.
Well, Jimbo Fisher's won a national championship. If he don't do any much better this year, I think I think he's on the hot seat.
Oh, I'm not saying that that's correct. I'm saying that's the way people think.
I know, but I was making the point that just
Yeah.
because you know.
Yes, I would rather have Brian Kelly running my football program than Jimbo Fisher.
I think, and I find myself defending Jimbo Fisher because I think he's a lot better of a head coach than the product that he's put on the field the last couple of years. But I think if he truly does let go of the play calling, I think this can be a vastly improved Texas A&M team. Because I think he was still trying to run the same type of offense he ran in 2013 when he won the national championship. And I
Well,
think
then that doesn't make him okay. I'm never going to say that Jimbo Fisher's not a good coach. He obviously is capable. He's obviously a top 15 to 25 coach in the country, if not better. But if he is not recognizing and has failed to recognize that he needs to update his offense, then that's a big flaw as a head coach.
it is. But at the same time, um, when you've done something like that, like play calling for so long as a coach, and that's kind of your thing, I think it's kind of hard for coaches to let go of. And
Still,
but kudos to him for recognizing that and then making
yes,
the change
he
now.
has finally.
And it was
Yes. To
probably
your
should have been
point,
done earlier.
yeah, to your point, Mark Recht did the same thing. He didn't pull the trigger and just relinquish the offense, be a great head coach, but relinquish the offense and win.
Yeah. I'm excited for this year. I think there's a lot of good games this year, not just in terms of Alabama or Florida State. Another game that I think that is going to be a good game is Florida at Utah. I think it's going to be a good game too this year. Now they don't have Cam Rising,
Probably not. He's about 50-50.
but um, I think that can be a good game too. That was a good game last year. Um, I think I was a little bit more excited about that game last year than I am this year. But I still think it can be a good game. And LSU versus Florida State on that Sunday night, I think it's going to be one of the best games of the year.
Yeah, if I could only watch one game in week one, that's the game I'm watching. I think that's going to be the most entertaining game. That's going to be the game with the most talent on one field. That's also, I think, going to be the most impactful game toward the national landscape.
And I think this is a big year for James Franklin at Penn State. I think this is the most talent he's had while he's been there, and I think that he can. He's, I think they can probably go 9-3.
Wait a minute. You think, okay, let me back up here, Hunter. You think this is a huge year for James Franklin, that he also probably is the most talent he's ever had, and then you think they can go 9-3.
I think I think that's probably.
You don't think that would be a huge disappointment and a disappointing season?
Well, let me rephrase that. I think that is the most likely scenario, but I think there's a scenario where he goes, when he could possibly win 11 games. But I think, like you said, there's those games like on the schedule where you don't see the down weeks or the losses, preseason.
Yeah, and the only reason I question what you're saying there is I just didn't quite put that together because it sounded like you were optimistic, enthusiastic that Penn State could do something special this year, and I'm counting 4 seasons that James Franklin has had at 10-2. So going 9-3 would not be any kind of great accomplishment.
Yeah, well, when we look at their schedule, I see a couple of pitfalls there. But I'm saying I've heard a lot of people talk about Penn State this year, and from what I've gathered, Josh Pate did a segment the other day about him and talking about him, and he went over, kind of running down some of their roster and talking about the talent that they have, and so and then when I look at their the schedule when he brought it up, I thought there was some games. I think there's the best case scenario for them is 11-1. I think it's the best case scenario.
Okay. All right, Hunter. Well, I appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it.
Have a good night.
Yeah.
All right, and to close us down, we got the real MVP.
Hey, Mark, how you doing this evening?
I am doing just fine. How are you?
Well, I'm glad. Good. I'm glad you have me on because I couldn't disagree more than what that caller had said. My goodness, I think that caller is going to have an absolutely horrendous and horrible season. I honestly already feel bad for him, okay? He's got high hopes on teams that I think are having major flaws, like major existential flaws right now.
Okay, Alabama would be one.
Yeah. Florida State the other.
Yes, sure.
Both of them are going to have something uncommon, and that's going to be they're both going to finish the season unranked, in my opinion.
Unranked?
Unranked.
Okay. Well,
So
I would go on a tirade right now and just rip you to shreds, except for I know that this does happen. There are going to be teams, as we discuss all the time, in that top 10 that will not finish ranked, but wow.
There's got to be a big heavy hitter that finishes unranked, and I was thinking about it, and I was just eliminating teams, and the only one I couldn't eliminate was Alabama. They just got too many questions. I don't like their offensive and defensive coordinator combination. I don't like Nick Saban as of recently. He's still the greatest head coach of all time. I believe he is slipping a little bit. Like last year, he was talking about a chart he was using to make decisions in reminiscence of Bush Jones, what he would do. So, I mean, and they've got a brutal schedule since they play in the SEC West. So,
yeah, they've got Texas outside the conference. They've got LSU, Tennessee, Texas A&M, Auburn. Okay.
I mean, if all the possible games they could lose, okay? I'm just going games they could lose.
Yes.
Texas, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Arkansas, Tennessee, LSU, Kentucky, Auburn. That's 7 games I think they could lose on any given Saturday. I think it's 30 to 40% chance range, which for Alabama's, that's a crisis. They lose to Texas A&M, Tennessee, LSU, and they split Auburn, Kentucky. And that would put them at 8-4.
Okay, let's see this. All right. Texas. I get that. Texas, Ole Miss at home, Mississippi State. Okay, let's say they trip up against one of Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Texas A&M, Arkansas. One of those 4, they lose.
Right, and I think Texas A&M is the most likely by far.
Yes, they're on the road, most talented team. Yes, so that could be 2 losses there.
Right.
Tennessee.
Loss.
3rd loss. LSU, possible 4th loss.
Yeah.
And
then split Kentucky, Auburn.
Okay, 8-4.
or
Well,
7-5.
yeah. Wow. You're taking every conceivable loss and turning it against
I'm
Alabama.
not taking every conceivable loss. I gave them Kentucky or Auburn. I'm giving them Ole Miss. I'm giving them a few games here that I
Yeah.
think they could legitimately lose.
Yeah, but you're talking about a coach who's never gone worse than 10-2.
I understand that, Mark, but times are changing in the sport, right? And
Yeah.
what you did last year was
Some people might call me on that. They did go 9-3 in 2010. Got it. Yes. Go ahead.
I love the chat just going absolutely crazy, by the way. This is,
Get off the line, man.
if people want to explain to me why I should have confidence in Bama other than they have the greatest coach of all time because that's what they did in the past and they got a giant A on their helmet. That's the only two reasons I see for them doing well.
Oh,
Who's their quarterback, Mark?
We understand that they've got a quarterback dilemma, but when you say that's the only because they got the greatest coach of all time and they got an A on their helmet, which of course technically they don't, but they got an A on their helmet. No, they've got one of the 2 or 3 most talented rosters in the country.
Yeah, and they had that last year as well, and they struggled for their standard last year.
And they didn't finish unranked. They went 11-2 and finished in the top 5 in the country.
I understand it, but you've got to look at it as like a reverse engineering thing. Like there's going to be at least 1, maybe 2 or 3 teams that in the top 10 AP poll are going to finish unranked.
I understand that.
You take all the possible teams in there and you eliminate them based on the amount of questions. And I just think Alabama is at near the top end of that list. And because of that, I think they finished unranked. Now, listen, I got called crazy last year for saying Texas A&M was going to finish unranked. And my goodness, in week 2, I looked like a genius when they couldn't even beat App State at home. Now, does that mean Alabama's going to lose to who do they even play like that? Mississippi, Middle Tennessee, or USF? No. But I'm just saying, you're going to have a team that implodes. And I just think it's going to be Alabama this year.
Wow. They would be one of the more unlikely candidates for me. Now, Florida State, okay. Now, if Florida State was playing this schedule, then I'd be really on board with you. Because shoot, Florida State could go 7-5 with this schedule. But their schedule is obviously nowhere close to this, but they do have LSU, Clemson, Florida, Pitt, Duke, I believe.
Right. They got Clemson on the road, LSU. They got Duke at Wake and then at Pitt. I think they lose 2 out of those 3 games. At Florida, I think that's a loss. I think they also go 7-5. I'm just not sold on what they did last year. I'm not sold on beating Florida by a touchdown and being one of the worst Oklahoma teams this century by 3 points. I'm just not sold by that.
Yeah, that's quite the call there. Florida State and Bama both go 7-5. So for Florida State, yeah, I am leaning LSU. And I'm leaning Clemson. So that would be 2 losses. And then I do think that they've got Duke at home. They go to Pitt in November. Like, I think that a bad season for them is more in the 8-4 range. I do think that Florida is going to be a much better team at the end of the season than they are right now. And they've got to go to the Swamp.
Right. I think Florida is basically what they were last year. I don't see any improvements for them, but they were good enough to compete with Florida State most of the game.
Sure.
And that Oklahoma game, I mean, I know they beat Oklahoma, but that Oklahoma team was like below average. They finished 7-6, 6-7?
6-7. This is where I need a research department. Whoa. Sorry about that. Nobody can hear that, I don't think. Anyway, I just had a tab open that was playing one of my videos. Anyway, I would love to go through each season and do the homework on how many teams in the top 10 didn't finish in the top 10, how many teams in the top 10 didn't finish ranked. I just looked at what did I look at? I looked at the last 3 seasons when we were talking about that the other night. And each of the last 3 seasons, there have been 3 top 10 teams that did not finish ranked. So that's a brief history, but that is the last 3 seasons.
Right. And I know everybody in the chat is basically saying it's a crazy take, but crazy things happen in college football. Now, am I probably wrong? Absolutely. 100% yes, I am probably wrong. But one of these teams, I think, in the top 10 that's unexpected is going to be unranked. So,
yeah, because it usually happens. So, it's difficult for the average person to think things are going to happen differently. So, because it's been drilled into our heads that Florida State has suddenly arrived and they're a top 10 team, and obviously Bama always wins, that things are going to change. But like I like to remind everybody, and I got to keep this in mind myself when I make predictions, which I'm going to have to do very soon. 27 teams in the Power 5 last year, 27 had a 3+ game increase or decrease of wins. And if you open up anybody who's at home that bought Athlons or Street and Smiths or one of those magazines, and you go through their record predictions, I guarantee they didn't come anywhere close to finding, and it may not be 27 this year, but it's going to be in the 18 to 22 range, because it is all the time. I've been tracking this for 5 or 6 years. I got an Athlons right here. I got an Athlons magazine right here. And these magazines are way too conservative. Let me go. So you got, shoot. Okay. So we got the ACC. They've got Florida State 10-2, Clemson 10-2, North Carolina 8-4, Miami 8-4. So that would be the first team that they have with a different record by at least 3 games from last season. Duke 8-4. That's the same record they had last year. Pitt 8-4. Louisville 7-5. NC State 7-5. Wake 7-5. Those are all the same records. Syracuse 7-5. Georgia Tech 5-7. Virginia Tech 5-7. Boston College 5-7. Virginia 3-9. They only have 1 team out of 14 that is going to have a substantially different record than last year. So history tells us that's not what happens.
you're right, Mark. And is it possible? I'm just saying, is it literally? I think it's literally impossible for Alabama to continue doing what they've done this last decade.
Yeah, so I have problems with that. This is what I have problems with. In terms of probability, what people know about probabilities, you're right. Just like Georgia, what is the probability that they can win 3 national championships in a row? It hasn't been done in 90 years. 90 years, practically. So the probability is very low, but they've already done 2. So they only have to win this one. Then you look at the bad schedule and you say, okay, well, Georgia's practically made the playoff probably. And then they'll only have to win 2 games. Yeah, their Texas prediction. I'm sorry, their Big 12 prediction. Texas 10-2, Oklahoma 9-3. So that would be that'd be their second team that they've got with a substantially different record. But Kansas State 8-4, TCU 8-4. Well, TCU did go 12-0, right? 12-0. Yeah. So that's a third one. Texas Tech 7-5, Kansas 7-5, Baylor 7-5, Oklahoma State 7-5, UCF 6-6, which is kind of a different deal because they're coming from the group of 5. But they were 8-4 last year, so that's only a 2-game differential. Iowa State 6-6, BYU 6-6, Houston 6-6, Cincinnati 5-7. That's obviously a huge departure from Luke Fickell's 9-3 team last year. So, yeah, it's difficult to foresee big changes, but they will happen. They've got the Big Ten basically. It's basically exactly what it was last year. Michigan's 11-1. Ohio State's 11-1. Penn State's 10-2. Maryland 7-5. Michigan State 6-6. Rutgers is 5-7. Indiana 4-8. Wisconsin 9-3. Okay, they went 6-6. So that would be 1. Iowa 8-4. Minnesota 7-5. Illinois 6-6. Well, they went 8-4. But so they made very few tweaks to the Big Ten.
You're right, Mark. You're absolutely right. And it's hard picking what teams are going to do it.
Yes.
So that's why people think it's crazy, but
yeah,
there's just not a whole lot of great options out there for it to be the case.
Yeah, when Texas A&M was the number 6 team in the country to start the season last year, if you would be making this phone call 1 year ago and you would have said they're going to go 5-7, there would have been people going crazy in the chat.
I had them unranked and I was called crazy. Just going unranked, which would have been 8-4, 7-5.
Yeah.
Now, understand it's unlikely to pick the correct team to do it.
Yes.
Now, understand Alabama is likely to finish the season ranked. And heck, they can even win the national championship, go 15-0. That is more probable than them finishing unranked.
And
but
I think that's one of the reasons why these magazines don't do it, is because they don't want to look bad.
Right. Right. If I'm wrong, I'll say, hey, I was wrong about this team, and I don't have any problem with it. I'm just looking at it and giving my honest assessment of the situation. I'm worried about Alabama's quarterback not being able to throw passes accurately. I'm still worried about their offensive line. I think it's improved somewhat, but I'm still worried about it. I'm worried about their offensive and defensive coordinators. So,
yeah. No, it's a great point that you make. And again, I have to keep this in mind when I make predictions that, and I'm not going to want to do it because I'm going to feel kind of foolish and taking shots. But if I look at that entire Power 5 landscape of what is now 69 teams and force myself, Mark, you got to pick out 20 teams that are going to have substantially different records than last year. I'm going to be making some picks that I'm going to be like, yeah. And there's no way I'm going to get them all right. And if I get half of them right, then I'm going to look stupid on the other half. But
right. That's how I feel. You know what? I've told Slap Happy I would talk about this team is USC. I think there's a world out there where they could finish 8-4. I don't think it's pretty likely of a scenario, but I think it's possible. They play 9 straight Power 5 teams. Their back half of the schedule is ridiculously difficult. I think that's possible they finish 8-4. Now, I know Caleb Williams is already compared to the next Patrick Mahomes, which is beyond crazy to me because that standard is ridiculously high. But
yeah,
the Pac-12 did no favors to USC after the Arizona game.
Yeah, so we've got the schedule here. They'll be 3-0. They'll be 4-0. They'll be 5-0. Arizona may be the first possible challenge. But some of these teams, like Arizona last year and Cal, they gave USC fits, and they were pretty bad teams.
I mean, that Arizona State game, I know you just overlooked it, but Washington went into Arizona State and lost.
Yeah, that's true.
And Washington was a really great team last year, and I'm really a fan of their quarterback. He's really good. So it's not the first quarterback to go in there and lose. Is it likely? No, but that is a possible upset. I mean, look, they got to play Notre Dame, Utah, and Washington in 3 out of 4 weeks. There's got to be at least one loss in those. And then they play at Oregon, UCLA. That could be 4. They could lose 5 games there. Not likely, but that could happen. I think they go 2-3 in that 3-2 in that stretch. Sorry.
Yeah, so you're not looking at the UCLA game. You're looking at Notre Dame through Oregon, 3-2.
Yeah.
Oh, you're taking out Cal, and you're looking at the other 5.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think they go 3-2 out of those 5 games, but they could go 1-4. That's also possible.
Yeah, they too. They go to South Bend. They go to Oregon. Um, and for as much as people dismiss UCLA, and I know they've got a different quarterback this year, um, UCLA was like a completed pass away from being in field goal range of a 48-45 game. Like USC came very close to not going to the Pac-12 championship game last year. UCLA came very close to going instead. So,
right. And I'm looking at that Utah game and I'm thinking, man, they got to fly out all the way to South Bend, Indiana. Then they got to fly all the way back to Los Angeles, California. I mean, that's going to be brutal travel for them. Yeah. And they're playing the most physical team in the Pac-12 in Utah. Like,
yeah, after they are playing maybe the most physical team on their schedule.
So do you think 8-4 is possible for USC? Not probable, not even likely, just possible.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I would think that. Yeah, it's such a soft start, but so I don't think they're going to lose a game until they go to Notre Dame. And then they would have to go 2-4. So it's unlikely, but 8-4 to me, 8-4 or worse is like a 15 or 20% possibility.
Right. Now, yeah. I watched your USC show, and one of the hosts has them going 15-0. And last time I called in, I still haven't heard how come they're less talented than Kentucky according to Steve Dace's ranking. So I just want to throw that out there that according to Steve Dace, they're the 18th most talented team in the country, but yet they're supposed to go 15-0 with this hard schedule. I would just like to hear why that's the case, Mark.
15-0.
Yeah, he's got them 15-0.
I don't know who that is exactly. I could take my guesses. Obviously, we've only got 3 to choose from, but they do know that they're going to have to play teams outside the Pac-12.
I think that's the case.
Yeah.
I'm just still waiting for an answer because I publicly, I wondered last time aloud, hey, how come this is the case? I still haven't heard an answer, so I'd like an answer sometime, Mark.
Yeah,
could you maybe give me an explanation of how this could be the case?
They are going to run into like a Georgia or Ohio State or somebody outside the conference to have to accomplish that.
Right, like I think USC, if they had Notre Dame or Oregon in that first half of the schedule, I could see them legitimately making the playoffs. But having them back to back to back like that, I just think there's no way. I mean, unfortunately, I think this is going to be a very battle-tested, injured team by the end of the season that just kind of hobbles into the Pac-12 title game and most likely 10-2.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that's the most likely record. Yeah, I would agree with that.
But speaking of Steve Dace, Mark, have you asked him if he's coming on anytime soon?
Yeah, I actually, when you reminded me of that last show, I contacted him and he just basically said, yeah, let's make it happen. But that's about all we've done. So we'll get it figured out.
Well, anyway, that's all I got for you, Mark. Good talking to you, and fight on to USC, and good luck to their brutal back half of the schedule.
Thanks to Real. Oh, that was a really good conversation because, again, are all those things going to happen? Florida State 7-5, Alabama 7-5, USC, let's say 8-4? No. But again, top 10 teams will finish unranked. Tons of top 25 teams will not finish ranked. And there are going to be about 20 teams in college football this year in the Power 5 that will have a significantly different, and I define that by 3 games, meaning if you were 6-6, you're going to go 3-9 or 9-3, significantly different regular season records this year. And when I look at the Power 5, it's easy to pick out about 5 or 6 teams that are trending that way. Like Purdue went 8-4 last year. They lost all that offensive firepower. They've got a more difficult schedule. They've got a new head coach. They've got a difficult non-conference schedule with Syracuse, Fresno State, and Virginia Tech. you can see Purdue going 8-4 to 5-7. There are a couple cases out there, like you can see Texas A&M elevating from 5-7 and Miami from 5-7 to 8-4. So there's some obvious choices. TCU 11 or 12-0. They only have to go 9-3 to fulfill that category. They were 12-0 regular season. So there are some obvious ones, but to find 20, yeah, we're going to be surprised by somebody. Who that is, we don't know. All right, folks, appreciate you being here. The Voice of College Football. Our next live show, for sure, live show is the Big Ten live show Monday at 6. You never know when I'm going to jump on if I've got something to say. I got to work on my predictions. I've got to work on a lot of other good stuff that we've got in store here at the Voice of College Football. Please check out the SEC channel. I left the link is in the description section of all the videos because we want you to subscribe, please, to the SEC channel and to the Big 12 channel as well. We've got a Notre Dame live show that we're doing here Saturday night with our Two Irish Brothers podcast guys on Saturday night. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you, and have a great rest of your weekend.